This is an interesting thing because that's also very cultural. When I would live in Japan, being the foreigner in Japan, I could get away with so much stuff because they had no expectation for me to act like them.
Oh, you're just one of those Americans.
But
There
if
we
you're
go.
if you were a Japanese person, you had all these rules that you had to follow.
Oh
Like, oh,
yeah.
you can't act this way, you can't act that. But then we look at something like the drunk the drunk salaryman, the drunk businessman on the way home. He collapses in the street and he's sleeping on the sidewalk in his business suit because he got too drunk on the way home, right? And
Yeah.
you think like, oh my God, we would look at that as someone who has no control of himself. That's horrible, and it's kind of looked down upon, but it's also kind of acceptable. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
that's what businessmen do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is where we discuss current events, personal growth, and any other random topic that crosses our minds. Our goal is to have a meaningful discussion that help us to see the topics we discuss more clearly. Our hope is we can help you expand your self-awareness, develop your critical thinking, and learn to be less reactive to the world around you. And most importantly, remember, be curious. If you like what you hear, like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. We want to hear what you think.
Hey, Chris, it is Saturday,
It is Saturday.
the 1st
It
of
is.
November. Can you believe
Oh
it?
gosh, it is the first of November. Oh boy. What are the things you need to do at the beginning of the month? I've got like these memberships I got to go in and tell them don't send me anything this month. I don't want anything.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do at the beginning of the month. Although it's just an artificial thing like walking through a doorway. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter.
But if you have no way to measure, then you have no way to know what's going on. It's actually think about it. It's a metric. It's a measurement, right?
It's a measurement. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we can't measure it, then it's really hard to quantify it. It's really hard to incorporate it into our lives.
Yeah, I mean, they used to do it. They just would, put a little thing on a wall with a sun when it comes up. They just put a little checkbox and they'd sort of, say, oh, there's another day.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and the seasons probably had something to do with that.
Yeah, I know when I would read stuff like in the past, they wouldn't really reference dates. It was like, oh, the summer of 1864 is when the story happened or something, or the
Because they
winter.
don't know which of the 13 weeks of summer it was, right? So
Yeah, and they just and it's probably fine enough, right? I mean, you don't need to be precise. Something that 100 years. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. I think maybe we measure too much. I'm not sure.
well, it definitely means that we have to know more and pay attention to more, right? And but also if we're expecting to be more productive, part of being more productive is to better use your time.
Yeah, I think most of us are completely distracted with our time. We just watch too much Netflix and do whatever we're supposed to do, whatever the elites tell us to do. So we're like distracted and don't cause them any trouble or whatever. So well, so what are we going to talk about? I got several things that I'd like to discuss today.
Good, because I don't have a lot. This was a busy week for me at work, so I am more than happy to delve into whatever topic, because if I don't like it, I'll just change the topic, change the
Yeah,
subject.
perfect. That's what I do. Exactly. It's like Toastmasters. You don't have to answer the question. Do whatever you want. It's like, isn't that so weird? It's like, think about this. Just before we even get started with this concept, Chris, the idea that you have all these expectations, cultural expectations that you behave and act a certain way. Many of them you put on yourself. And like, what happens if you don't do it? I mean, what happens if you don't answer the question that's asked in Toastmasters? People just go, oh, there he goes again, not answering the question. But there's no real penalty, right?
Well, okay, there's a penalty, but is it a real penalty? Do you consider it a penalty, right? Someone will look at you and go, "You're that guy who never addresses the question," right?
Like,
But
I
is that
care.
really a penalty, right? Well,
No.
but this is one of the things I think you need to think about. You have the choice to make any action you want,
Yeah.
but you have to worry about the consequences. And sometimes I think what happens is we worry so much about the consequences when sometimes it just, either one, you can't do anything about it, or
Yeah,
two,
right.
so no big deal,
So
right?
what? Yeah.
But this is an interesting thing because that's also very cultural. When I would live in Japan, being the foreigner in Japan, I could get away with so much stuff because they had no expectation for me to act like them.
Oh, you're just one of those Americans.
But
There
if
we
you're
go.
if you were a Japanese person, you had all these rules that you had to follow.
Oh
Like, oh,
yeah.
you can't act this way, you can't act that. But then we look at something like the drunk the drunk salaryman, the drunk businessman on the way home. He collapses in the street and he's sleeping on the sidewalk in his business suit because he got too drunk on the way home, right? And
Yeah.
you think like, oh my God, we would look at that as someone who has no control of himself. That's horrible, and it's kind of looked down upon, but it's also kind of acceptable. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
that's what businessmen do.
Yeah.
So it's to me it's interesting because I think that some cultures you have a lot more stricter rules,
Yeah.
and there are consequences if you don't follow them.
Yeah.
The ostracization, is that the right word? You're getting
Yeah.
ostracized,
Yeah.
and the like. It's there. So anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, for Toastmasters, no big deal.
And and the other thing is for me, maybe I have more freedom than most people do because like if somebody, well, for instance, like I'm not that self-regulating. Like in Toastmasters, if somebody's not happy with me, it's like it really, I to be honest, it's not like I don't care. I really don't care actually, but it's like it doesn't really impact me anyway. Like, yeah, okay, you're pissed off at me. Yeah, so what?
So
I don't
so
really care.
that feeling of having to regulate myself came into play yesterday. So we
Mhm.
were doing a presentation to a client or potential client, and we had to take something out of her proposal because our legal team said, "Oh, we can't say that."
Yeah,
But then in the presentation, they asked us about that thing that was taken out
yeah, right.
because that's one of the things they wanted as a service. And so I knew what I wanted to say, but because I wasn't comfortable with the edges of what I could and couldn't say
Right.
yet,
Right.
I just shut up and let the others talk about it. But I
Yeah.
really felt like, no, I've got something to say here, but I don't know if I'm okay saying it yet.
Yeah.
And so I really felt like I was holding back. Whereas if I was just free, I would have said what I wanted to say, and I don't think it would have caused a problem. But again, since I was unsure, I held back. And
Yeah.
that I think is one thing in Toastmasters, you don't have to hold back. In most situations, you really don't have to hold back because unless you're really psychopathic or crazy or something, and you're doing something that is going to hurt someone, that's a different thing.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I mean, I'm not talking about being like rude or hurtful or just being a jerk. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, look, I'm going to kind of beat to my own drum. And, I know like, when I gave a critique of Clement, Caitlin, in her evaluation, in her general evaluation, she said, yeah, I got really mad when you did that. And my initial thought was, yeah, okay, good.
Well,
Yeah.
and part of it is she mad in the sense that she was really mad at you, or she was like she had an emotion, so she decided to call out the emotion,
Could be, yeah.
right? Because a lot of times, and I think the more self-aware you are, the more you realize that that I'm having an emotion,
yeah,
and
maybe.
it doesn't mean anything beyond the fact that I'm having an emotion. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm having an emotion, Scott. You made me feel sad, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, and I'm like, yeah, I don't wonder why. I wonder why that made me feel sad, and it's not like I'm blaming you. It's like I'm calling
Yeah.
it out, saying, hey, this is what happened, right?
Yeah, could have been. I don't know what it was, but in either ways, it's not like I didn't care about her. It's just that I wasn't really affected by her emotion.
Well, and this is the difficulty is emotions are other people's, they're not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes someone feel an emotion isn't something you can always understand or control.
No, because she has all sorts of different background. Who knows why that came up? I mean, I have no.
And yet
idea
and
why.
yet one of the things I also believe is that if someone doesn't understand what you're communicating, it's not their fault, it's your fault for not communicating well.
Who-
And I used to think,
Maybe.
no, the other person interprets it through their filter. And I go, and I used to think that, yes, it's their fault as well. And I'm like, no, now I really believe it's 100% the communicator's fault. And I think it's important because that empowers you as the communicator to be in charge.
Well, I know definitely from a marketing standpoint, you're 100% right. Because it's my job to understand what the fish wants and give it the right bait,
Mm-hmm. So,
And if I don't-
but I'm thinking like when you communicate, regardless of if you're communicating with an educated person or an uneducated person, a rich person, a poor person, whatever it is, you as the communicator need to be good enough at communicating, reading the other person, whatever it is, to understand that the other person is understanding or not understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that makes
And
sense.
I don't think it's 100% true, but if you accept it as 100% true, then you have the power to do everything. It's all on you.
Yeah, that's a good way to roll. Yeah, even if it's not technically 100%, just assume it is. That makes sense. I know I was listening to like Joe Rogan do something because he's used to be a comedian. I think still is to some
He
extent.
still is a comedian, yeah.
And he's talking about jokes that bombed. And, another comedian was on the show and they were talking about, yeah, you just didn't read the room that night, and it could have been that same joke could have worked perfectly the night before and it'll work tomorrow. But this night, no. And you didn't read the tea leaves right. So yeah, I think you're probably, I'll buy into that, Chris.
Yeah. And but it's one of those things that I think over time I've learned to accept that if I take on more of the responsibility for an interaction, then I'm not going to feel so bad. Well, let me change that. I'm not going to feel like I have no control in a situation because I'm assuming I do have all the control.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably, even though you don't, but yeah, I think if you act like that, that's probably safer. That's probably the most conservative way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot of things I think over time where I've always wanted to say everyone's responsible for their own piece of whatever.
Yeah.
And I still, at a core, believe that's true. You're responsible for your emotions. You're responsible for how you see the world. You're responsible for all that. And yet, if I take responsibility for how I interact with you and what you take away from it, then I don't have to rely on you. I can try. I don't want to use the word manipulate, but I can control my messaging to try to get you to understand what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, we've been talking about this in marketing for 20 years. There's certain tactics where you can hack the brain, and it's your intention. If your intention is to do harm, we call that manipulation. If your intention is to do good for the person, then we don't call it.
It's manipulation. It's just we call it something else.
Yeah, we call it something else. It's like, wow, that was kind of cool.
Is the manipulation for me or is the manipulation for you?
Well, it depends on what your intent is. If you're intending to manipulate the other person for your personal gain and it's not for them, we generally consider that bad.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is the whole thing is it for them or for you?
As long as it's for them, I think you're safe, right?
Yeah. You can even be a little bit for you as long as it's more for them.
Yeah.
Right? That's the idea of I'm selling you a service, but it's going to make your life better. And if you really believe that.
Yeah.
And if it really can do that, then I kind of think modern day marketing is what destroyed our politics today.
Yeah. When I'm deeply looking into dopamine loops and how dopamine affects things and how affected we are by dopamine. Man, we are so affected by dopamine. We're all basically drug addicts,
Wait, so dopamine is the one that is pursuit, right?
Yeah, it's a pursuit drug. Yeah.
And yet we have rewarded it in a way where it's no longer pursuit.
Yeah, because I break it up into two categories.
So let's explain what we mean by pursuit.
Okay, pursuit. Yeah. All right. So what I mean by pursuit is if you're at point A and you want to go to point B and your brain in some way connects up that, ooh, this movement is going to take me to point B. Even if you're not at point B, you get a dopamine hit.
So every step along the way to point B, as long as your body or as your mind recognizes that you're on the way to point B, you see it as progress forward, and then you get a dopamine hit. Because I'm moving towards that. I'm moving towards that.
Yeah, exactly. As long as your body, I would maybe not use the word recognize, as long as it believes, but it believes. It doesn't have to be true.
So this is why if you're exercising at the end of and you really believe the end goal to finish the thing or to get the great body or whatever it is, every time you work out, every time you finish a set or whatever, you're going to get a little bit of dopamine hit because you're moving towards that.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Or if you're on the hunt, or if you're studying for a test, or whatever it is you're doing, you see the end goal and you know that these things are moving you towards it. So when you complete a micro task, you know that you get a little dopamine hit.
Yeah, you get a little dopamine hit because you've actually done the work. Now, in our modern society, that thing has been totally hijacked through drugs, through sugar, through Netflix, through scrolling.
YouTube, yes.
YouTube, a million things. And these people that do this, they know exactly what they're doing. I mean, they've got, when you're at that level, you've got probably a team of PhD behavioralists, like understanding exactly how to maximize people's behavior.
So let's doom scrolling comes to mind. Okay,
Yeah.
and I was, when I'm in the kitchen washing dishes, I doom scroll, but I'm doing it while washing dishes, right? So there's a time limit on it. But I've also been sitting down on the couch just doom scrolling, and I can just have an hour go by and not even notice.
Yeah,
an hour
exactly.
went by.
Yeah.
And I'm so like, what's it doing there? Because is it that I don't have an end goal, and so I've got and I'm getting a dopamine hit every time I watch a video,
Yeah.
and yet there's no end goal, so there's no end to this dopamine rush. Is
Well,
that
yeah,
what's happening?
you're hijacking the system. You're getting a dopamine hit and not having to do the work.
Okay, so I watch a 2-minute video that tugs on my feelings, makes me feel good, does whatever,
Yeah.
and then I get a little
Little
hit
boost.
of dopamine,
Yeah.
and then I go to the next one, and
Yeah.
it doesn't do it, so I go to the next one. Oh, and that
Yeah.
one gives me another hit, and I go to the next one.
Yeah.
And unlike if my goal was to learn something new,
Yeah.
I'm not getting that by doom scrolling because it's just feeding me crap,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's feeding me crap that gives me a dopamine hit, but there's no end goal in mind. Because in the pursuit of something, when you get to the end, you finish the thing. You finish the hunt. You finish the workout. You finish
Yeah.
the whatever. You got to point B, like you said.
Yeah.
Then that's the end of that pursuit. The dopamine is going down, I guess, because what is it when you achieve your goal? Is that which is that
Yeah, I don't
serotonin?
know. I mean, I'm assuming you
What-
get dopamine when you hit your goal as well too. But
But
this is even if you're making
isn't there
progress.
what's the long-term happiness one? Is that serotonin? I forgot.
Yeah,
which one
there's
it is.
serotonin, oxytocin. There's like I think there's 4 or 5. They're like the big ones, you know.
So the one when you achieve that big goal, there's got to be something there, right? And then that kind of is like, oh, I got that accomplishment, and that kind of goes into the background of who you are, and
Yeah.
then you have the next pursuit. But doom
Yeah,
scrolling
yeah.
doesn't have an end goal, so there's never an end. You never complete it. You never go on to the next pursuit.
Yeah. That is exactly the same way it works with porn, with weed, with I'm sure a million other drugs,
Addictions, right?
sugar.
Wait.
They're
What's
all
the point of
addictions.
addiction? Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the
all
point of addiction? Is
addictions.
to get that feeling. It's not to get to an end goal.
Yeah.
You don't take drugs to become a better person. So,
Usually not. Yeah, you just because you're bypassing doing the actual work actually. And I know for both of us too, we get dopamine, but see, we're smart, so our we have to be a little more creative about how we admit to that because we can't admit to it, right? We can't say that, oh, sitting around thinking for 4 hours with no particular outcome, we're like, but I learned something. It's like, but it's still the
yes.
same thing,
Well,
you know.
this is kind of what I was talking about yesterday in my
Yeah.
opening was the idea that I realized when you're learning something new that you have no idea on,
Yeah.
for someone like me and like you, it's like, oh wow. And then you tie that information into other information you have. And
Yeah.
part of the fun of learning a new piece of information is fitting it into your worldview, your knowledge.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to actually do something with that knowledge,
Yeah.
then it becomes much more difficult because I can think through what is the impact of this new thing that I learned and I can figure that out.
Yeah.
But then if I have to sit down and make something tangible out of it, that's much more difficult. And that's the thing I found out this week is like I was given tasks at work to do that I perfectly knew what we were trying to do. I knew what the goal was. I understood everything about it. But when I had to create that document, when I had to do whatever, it's like I don't know the systems at the office. I don't know which tool I'm supposed to use, whose approval I'm supposed to get. The actual procedural steps to get it done, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's not fun to learn.
Yeah. It's not
That's
fun.
nowhere near as fun as learning new, incredible stuff, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I
that-
realize there's different levels of learning, and I've been focusing on the ones where I get to look at new things and let my mind wander.
yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. As long as you actually build something. But the building has to come first, not that, because that's your outcome. And the problem is there's no outcome. There's no benefit out of that. You don't build, you don't create anything.
So here again, what is the goal? What is the pursuit? What am I pursuing? I'm pursuing that proposal we're going to give to the client, and what do I need to do along the way? I've got to figure out pricing. I got to figure out the scope of work. I got to figure all that kind of stuff. And okay, I figured that out. Now the next thing is how do I turn it into this document? How do I,
how do you
which
build
means,
it?
all right, what are the steps involved? Okay, here's the steps.
Yeah.
Then the next thing, how do I do the steps?
Yeah. Right.
Right. And this is the interesting thing, and I'm really feeling it in the last couple of weeks is when you are in an industry or you're knowledgeable about something, you're talking from a level of knowledge that when you're talking to someone who doesn't have that knowledge, the disconnect isn't obvious.
No,
Like
right, exactly.
I have the same business knowledge as my boss does. So
Yeah,
when they talk to me, I get, oh yeah, I get that, I get that, I get that. I get the concept. I get what, I get the goal, I get all that. But I don't have the internal company knowledge that
yeah,
she does. So
yeah,
when it comes time for me to figure things out, like, oh, wait. She just assumed I knew the underlying pieces
yeah,
of that within this company. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
no, I don't. So
You
then I got
don't.
to go follow up with someone. So it's like, if I tell you something and you get the gist of it, I'm
Yeah,
assuming the gist includes everything underneath it. And
it
it
does.
probably doesn't. Well, that's what I think. But
Yeah,
on your side, you may not have that information. So
yeah,
that kind of, even though we both understand at a high level what we're talking about,
yeah,
you know, like if I'm talking about driving a car, and to you driving a car means a sports car, and to me driving a car means a station wagon.
yeah,
It's a different experience, and
yeah,
the power that we're going to have accessible to us, all that sort of thing is going to be different. So even though we both conceptually understand the idea of driving a car, the actual procedures to do it are going to vary slightly between your knowledge and mine.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so I spent a lot of time fiddling with AI, mostly as an addiction, but I get to learn stuff.
This thought occurred to me this week because you've been playing around with AI for almost the year now,
Yeah,
and you know last week when we were talking and you said you hadn't downloaded the console or whatever the client of either AI in your desktop, and I'm like, well, haven't you done that yet, Scott? And I was like,
yeah.
so I started to think, how are you interacting with AI? What is it that you're doing? And is most of it what you're doing conversational back and forth and just kind of free forming your interest?
Yeah,
Or are you actually
yeah.
because you did delve into things like health, you did delve into certain things like how AI works.
Oh yeah,
But I'm
yeah, yeah.
wondering, have you tied that into your own personal end goal?
Yeah. I mean, my one goal is to get healthy because if you don't have health, nothing else works. So that's number one. My second thing is getting my brain to work better, which is I've been going through quite a lot of withdrawal. This is like day 36 of me intentionally not consuming any sort of, well, I'm not going to say that. Minimizing the really bad addictive stuff like sugar, watching TV, politics, um, chemicals that I'm ingesting. I mean, those things, the really bad ones that you get
Sugar.
dopamine hits for, but you don't have to do any work to get to it, you know?
Sugar is the most evil one, I think, as far as impact to
Yeah.
society. I, you know,
Caffeine, another one, right? I've totally cut out all my caffeine.
Caffeine. I've never considered caffeine a very bad thing, but I'm one of those people who can have a cup of coffee and go to bed.
Yeah. Some
So
people can't.
it's never been the thing that's driven me as much as I think some people.
Yeah, some people they can't function without because they're highly addicted to it. I mean, it's addictive. I mean, and you get serious withdrawals. Like if you're like a lot of coffee and you'll get bad headaches and get angry and pissed off for a few
Well,
days.
when I was preparing for this morning, I was making my cup of coffee and I was like, but it was running a little bit late, and I was like, maybe I'll just skip the coffee. And
Yeah.
to me, it doesn't matter. I mean, so this is the interesting thing. Is that biochemical? Is that mental? Is that what? Why is it people are quote addicted to caffeine? Is it something in their body, or is it something in their head,
Well, it's
or
it's
both?
it's probably both actually. But there's no doubt caffeine is a very powerful drug, very very powerful. And you can get like that's why when they break out addictions, they call it like a mental addiction and then a physical addiction. And so
Yeah,
it's a physical if you have like really like withdrawal symptoms,
like
like you
smoking. Smoking
yeah,
has a big one,
smoking,
doesn't it? And
nicotine.
drinking has a big one. Yeah, if you're
Yes.
alcoholic, yeah.
Yeah.
So I switched my medicines earlier this week, and my blood sugar dropped 20 to 30 points on a daily basis just
Oh,
by
isn't
that.
that cool? That's really good.
The
Yeah.
diet I didn't change the diet at all. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder if I should have just done that a while back, because it's kind of getting close to what you were talking about in your numbers. So
Yeah, my numbers are going up, I think, because I haven't exercised in a couple of days. But here's the thing, Chris. I think what happens is no matter what medicine that you go on to,
your body gets used to it.
yeah, you first start using it, man, it works like crazy. It works awesome. And then you got to start taking more and more and more because your
And
system down regulates to it.
So this is the other thing, and I was talking about this to someone this week. It was like the idea that when you're eating low carb or
Yeah.
carnivore or you're cutting out carbs,
Yeah.
I think your body forgets how to use carbs effectively. So when
Yeah.
you bring them back in, your
Yeah.
blood sugar soars.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll get used to it, and it'll normalize. But whatever your body is allowed to do, it gets good at doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're
It's really,
processing, if you're calorie restrictive diet, your
yeah.
body's going to learn to get the most out of the calories it has.
Yeah.
So but that's why when you're doing workouts, quite often they say switch up your workouts
Yeah.
so your
Always
body
switch it
doesn't
up.
get
Yeah.
so you don't plateau and your body doesn't get used to the workout.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I think biology as a whole is designed to maximize what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And after you do it for a while, it learns to maximize its ability to do that. And
Yeah.
that's true with drugs. It's true with, it's true with driving. It's true with anything you learn. It's just the way the world works, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. It's at our core, we're very, very adaptable. And you may go into a new environment, a new thing, and you're thinking, I could never, this is horrible. It's like, it's killing me. And then a month later, you're like, oh, I don't even know. It's just like, oh, it just happens automatically almost at this point.
So I've had to switch from a Mac to a PC in the job. So right now I've got a Mac, I've got a PC, and then I got my iPad over here. So I'm decked out with tech on my desk here.
Yeah.
But one of the things is the PC feels so clunky compared to the Mac.
Yeah. Right.
And part of that is just familiarity. I've been on the Mac for 11 years now, 11 years now. Part of it's that, and part of it I think is the Mac is a better designed computer overall for the user interface. There's a couple of things there, but honestly, it's like I feel clunky. Like, oh wait, where did that message go, or where's that email,
Yeah.
or where's that file stored? And that's the other thing is just when you're not as familiar with the underlying factors, like where are files stored? Where's the cloud storage? Where's my personal storage? Where's this? I mean, it sounds like a minor thing, and you can easily figure it out. But ingraining it to where it's just you don't even have to think about it. Like when you drive to work, when you've done it so many times, you don't even think about it. You can do that whole drive and not remember one thing in there because it's on autopilot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then, so if you're really smart, you don't even have to be that smart, but if you're just aware, it's like then when you start doing is you start deciding what habits, what outcome in my life do I want? And then what processes / habits do I have to engineer to like get to that goal? And typically they call it habit stacking because you don't want to change 10 things at once because you'll be overwhelmed and you'll quit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just do one thing, run it for 30 days, get it built in, then go to number 2 and number 3.
That's like that's the atomic habits idea, right?
Exactly.
Book, yeah.
That seems, yeah.
But the other thing, and we've talked about this, and others have talked about this as well, reverse engineering from your goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. This is the goal I want.
Yes.
And when you say, how do I get there? You kind of reframe the question as, how do I become the person who has that goal?
Yes, right. Exactly.
Right. It's not what steps I need to take there. It's like, how do I make sure that I, as a person, just by very nature of being alive and living my life, have that goal in hand.
Yeah.
And you work backward from there. Well, I need to be able to do this. I need to have this as a habit. I need to work out every day. I need to eat healthy. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, what are the habits that would get me to eat healthy? What are the habits that would get me to work out? Right.
Yeah.
Because and there's a lot you think about. There's actually it's not hard in the sense of I got to figuring out what those things are.
Yeah.
But it's hard to sit down and really define that for yourself. That's where I find it hard for me.
Well, and it's hard to do the execution part because it's work and it's hard and it's uncomfortable and your body screams. Like the first time you go into a gym, you're like, man, I don't. It hurts to lift these weights, right? I don't want to do it, and most people will quit and leave just mediocre lives with doing that. And really from having talked to this guy, he's my SEAL mentor, or ex-SEAL mentor. He's like, it's not so much the capabilities. It's like you got to pass certain things. I mean, you can't be, there's certain time things, but they're actually pretty easy to do. There's nothing that's hard if you're fit, if you're reasonably fit and come in there. But the thing they're really looking for is they want to see when your mind will break. And they break it using different technologies or different techniques. And he was saying, like, just down here, just south of where we are, south of San Clemente, actually, he goes, the training ground is really simple. He goes, it's cold water, sand, an obstacle course, boats, and big heavy logs. And that's it. He goes, the technology is very, very simple. But he said, let me tell you something. When you're freezing cold and you're not sleeping, and they say, get in the water, at 3 a.m. in wintertime, it's like a lot of people, their mind just says, no, 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 I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get back in the cold.
I was thinking as you were talking about that, how much of going through that kind of training is kind of an acceptance that this is what I have to do. This is who I am. This is what I have to do.
Yeah. It's
regardless
right.
regardless of what it means to my body, regardless of what it means to everything else, right? Goes, yeah, I don't want to do this. Yeah, my everything's telling me no, but I am the person who does what I'm told to do in this, because at the same time you're also balancing with I'm also a person who knows enough to question, to learn, to understand, right? At what point do you say, okay, I'm pushing that part of me down and I'm just obeying and listening and doing what I'm told because that's the goal?
Yeah, and that's why people that don't have very high levels of intelligence, I want to be very careful when I say this, but their brain disengages. They say at some point, because I've talked to several of them that have gone through this, at some point you don't think anymore. You just move, and that's what they want.
But isn't that like when a marathon runner hits the wall, right? Their body's technically saying, "That's it, we're done," and they're still pushing through.
Yeah, they're pushing through because they want it so bad. Right? They just want it.
And it has nothing to do with what you're. It's almost like I don't care what the body says. I don't care what anything says. I'm going till I collapse, and hopefully that means you're actually getting to the end.
Yeah, I know I was listening to this one guy in a YouTube video, and he was talking about it is so hard because really they push you to the limit. And he said your heart is beating. And he goes, literally in his mind he was saying that if I do one more step, my literally heart is going to explode and I'm going to die. And at some point he came and he's just like, F it, I'm doing it. If I die, I die. And he goes, that's when the breakthrough happened. He goes, then at that point, they're like, stop. We got it. You can stop this evolution, they call it, because we got you to that point, right? Where you push through. And most people never make it. Most people don't get there.
Well, no, most people are never put in that situation.
Well, are they quit way before, because they don't want it bad enough. A lot of people quit. People quit easy,
Yeah, but I mean, how many situations in the modern world does the average person have where they're going to be pushed to their physical and mental limits?
I don't know. I mean, it could be.
Well, let me
Probably
reframe
more than
that.
you think, I think.
Let me reframe that. Yes.
Yeah.
That probably happens a lot when you're younger because you don't know what your limits are, and your limits, and you have to grow those limits, right? So we all grow to a certain, whatever our average societal limit is of our mental resilience and our physical resilience. But we don't have to be as physically strong as we did 200 years ago because it's just not a requirement for our day-to-day lives. So our overall abilities have gone down there. And then our mental resilience, I would have said, was stronger in the past, because now we factor in emotions and mental health a lot more than we used to, which means we've had to make allowance. I don't want to make that into a negative, that we've made allowances for variances that we didn't make allowances before. So now we allow, but I think what we've lost and I think what we've lost and I'm trying to avoid the buts here. And what I think we've lost in that process is knowing exactly what a normal level of mental resilience is. What is the average person's level of mental resilience? It feels like it's gone down because we accept so many more extreme edge cases than we used to. And I think we should be working towards furthering everyone's mental resilience, regardless of what conditions you're under, regardless of what mental health issues you may have or other things. The goal is to build mental resilience.
Yeah, right. And in order to do that, first you got to train the body because the mind is part of the body. Now, the way it's organized, that's the software part, right? I call that the soul part, but it's like the mind is part of the body and you got to train the body hard.
The body is the hardware.
Yeah.
And the body includes the brain.
includes the brain. Now, the way the brain is organized, that's the software.
Now, if you want to say the brain is the CPU, you want
Yeah.
the best CPU you can get.
Yeah, right.
You want the best brain you can get, and the
Yes.
best way to get a best brain is to have your body in as healthy as possible.
As healthy as possible, and stop putting poison into it.
Yeah.
That's
So-
it.
so
It's pretty
I-
simple, you know.
I think so. I don't. Obviously, you can be running on a slower CPU and just have really good software and maximize how you use that CPU.
Yeah.
And therefore, your outcomes could in life could be better than someone else with a better physique and,
Yeah.
and the like. But if the ideal person has both, right?
Yeah,
They have
absolutely.
they have a good CPU and a good operating system, and that means strong body, strong mind.
Strong body, strong mind. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And strong does not have to be physically strong, but it means healthy in both categories.
Well, I would say it means be physically strong. Yeah, as well too.
But are we talking physically strong like you need to be like an Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilder strong?
No.
So I think that's why I don't like to use the word strong, because to me it emphasizes the wrong aspects of health. So I think strength is something you're one of the things you're trying to get. You don't want to be, but I think healthy implies strength without saying that strength is the only thing that matters or is the biggest thing.
No,
Right?
I
So
mean,
it's strength, it's flexibility, it's
Yeah.
responsiveness, it's all these different aspects. So I don't want to say strong because strength is just part of health.
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. But they call it like functional training, where it's like you got to have balance, so you can be up on a ladder and balance and reach over and pick something up that's 30 pounds with one hand,
Yes.
with it down, and not fall off the ladder.
So
you know?
I mean, mobility is a big part of it, right?
Yeah,
Being
right.
able to have your joint, because one of the things as we get older is we don't even realize we're not doing the movements that we used to do.
Yeah, right.
You know, I realized a couple years ago that I no longer squat down to tie my shoelaces. I raise my foot to tie my
Yeah.
shoelaces,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I'm not squatting here. And
Yeah.
it occurred to me, wow, because it got harder to squat, so I just don't do it anymore. I'm like,
don't
I
do it
didn't even realize I was changing my behavior.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of saying, "Wait a minute, I gotta do exercises to get me to squat again."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just stopped squatting as much.
You just stopped squatting.
So-
Yeah. You just gave up. Basically what happened, like if you were talking to a SEAL in his mind, you just gave up ground right there.
Yeah, but my mind didn't even realize it. Oh,
You
that's
didn't
getting
realize
harder. Don't do that. Do it this way now.
Yeah.
Because again, it's about efficiency. Your mind and body go, this is what I can do easily. I'm going to maximize that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is funny though. That's fine to live because these SEAL guys, they're incredibly efficient. But when they train, they're not efficient. In fact, they build in inefficiencies to strengthen themselves. They don't know it's easy. They pick the hardest exercise to do
Yeah. Okay.
because they know now that
No, I understand that. How are you? What are you saying is the benefit of that?
the benefit of that is because now you're stronger, you're faster, you're more agile. That's what the obstacle course is for. It toughens you up, right? It builds calluses. I talked to this guy and he said, what it does is the first you're slow going through and it's hard, but eventually you get quick and you're nimble and you can get over a 5-foot like wall like that in one leap actually where you couldn't before.
So I'm gonna rephrase what you're saying.
Yeah.
The goal is to build more capability than you
Yes.
need on a day to day.
Yes.
So if my day-to-day
absolutely.
capability is 60% of my is 100% of my body's capability,
Yeah.
then I can't go beyond. And but if my day-to-day needs are only 60% of my body's capability, I can keep going. I can do harder things. So if I train to a level above what I need, I will
Yes.
always be able to deliver.
Always, yeah. And you got to define carefully what you need, right? Because these guys, right, they're designed to go to war and break crap and kill
Yeah,
people. It's their
but what I'm
mission.
getting at is the philosophy of what you're saying is when you're training, when you're learning, when you're developing an ability, you
Yeah.
develop it at a level beyond your day-to-day needs
Yes, yes,
so that you're able to deliver on your day-to-day needs all the time.
yes, yes.
So it's not about inefficiency, because you said it was they're inefficient. I think no, what they're doing is they're building it so that their day-to-day failure rate is zero or near zero.
yeah,
because
yeah,
they're
yeah,
right.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I say they're building capability beyond what they actually need. So one of their sayings is like when you get trained by these dudes, they're like train hard, fight easy.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go sideways a little bit here.
Yeah.
You heard the term just in time for inventory,
Yeah,
right? Just in time inventory. So I'm a manufacturer. I need to build a car, and I'm going to need certain electronics from a company I'm buying them from.
Yeah.
But I don't want to store those electronics anywhere because that takes time and money to store it. So I just want you to deliver it to me the day I need it. So just in time, or just in time inventory. And it's a great idea. It's a great efficiency idea, because the idea is that I don't have to pay for storage. I don't have to pay to figure out where these things are and get them in place. The problem with that is if anything doesn't flow perfectly, just in time doesn't work. So I either don't get it in time, or my assembly line is behind, or whatever. So I lose flexibility in my ability to deliver. So the chances are, is if the whole system was working perfectly, I got no issue. I have optimized it, but I've got no additional capability built in because I'm optimizing for cost. Whereas if I build in a little extra ability that I'm not using, which is inventory or whatever, then I actually have the ability to adapt when situations change.
Yeah, but
I think I think it's the same kind of idea. Is like, if I train just good enough on a skill to deliver the average, then on the days when I need more than the average, I'm not going to be able to deliver.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Because I think it's a good philosophy to have, because it goes against what business has been doing for years of trying to balance the perfect efficiency optimization of something, right? So when you optimize, there's always a level of, well, what happens when this doesn't work? And I think people forget that. Like when I'm building a process with someone, I say, okay, what's the exception case? How often does that happen? What is your process for that? Because your exception case is going to be the inefficient time it happens. The time you need to get a person to look at it, the time you need to get your boss to approve it, whatever that is. Right? That's not going to be an efficient thing. The efficiency is getting as much of your stuff day to day, every day average as possible. 80%, 90%, 95%. Right? But if you want to be able to handle 100%, you've got to build in those exception cases. And that's what they're doing by building that capability.
They're building more capability. And this is what Musk does in his things, is he's taken more and more of the supply chain under his control, where he's like, I'm going to build my own batteries. I'm going to build my own this. I'm going to build my own that, actually, because now I have more control over it. Because I don't have as much control if I have to use external resources for it.
Yeah, but this is also something companies have done in the past, and we've had to break them apart because they get too much power.
Yeah, well, I don't think Musk is concerned about having too much power.
He's not concerned about it, and no company ever usually is. It's the government, right? I mean, Teddy Roosevelt broke apart Chevron, and then Ma Bell was broken apart in the 60s and 70s. At the end of the day, what ends up happening is when he gets and they've redefined monopoly. Right? Monopoly used to be across the board, all of an industry, like all the oil companies, all the tech companies, whatever. Now it's more. You can also have a monopoly. A vertical monopoly where you own everything from raw materials to end product. So it's one of the things that is so to me. I've always thought that breaking apart a monopoly was anti-capitalist, but I actually think in many ways it is protecting a type of capitalism.
Well, it's not capitalism, Chris. So pure capitalism is the market decides. I remember my very first economics class was like this, right? He's like, do you guys believe in, everybody's capitalist? And he's like, around here it gets around 3:00 in the afternoon, it gets a little slow around here. So do you think it's okay if I just sell drugs to kids then at 3:00 in the afternoon? And everybody's like, no, you can't do that. He's like, okay, now it's not pure capitalism anymore. We're starting to put contingencies on it. And he goes, so then it's just, where's the slider,
So you're saying a monopoly is not capitalism?
No, I would say a monopoly is total capitalism.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way.
100%.
Monopoly is the result of total capitalism.
Yeah, because you get so much advantage, nobody can compete
right?
against you.
Because and then at some point, someone has to break that monopoly somehow. Hopefully, there's new technology or whatever, and you're able to survive long enough to challenge the monopoly and then break it apart. Something like that.
Because it becomes non-capitalistic at some point. Because the idea of capitalism, it's the free market that multiple people are selling copper or whatever they sell.
Yes,
but
when they're all deciding the price. And the market no longer decides the price. They decide it because they control the supply. They're basically controlling the market. So at that point, is it still capitalist? Because it is supply and demand. It's I mean, look at the diamond industry. De Beers controls the amount of diamonds that go out in the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diamonds. They're just not being sold, mined or sold, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it depends on who it's good for, but at some point it becomes so
is that
not
still
good
capitalism
for
at that
everybody.
point? I think
Is that
I think
capitalism?
uncontrolled capitalism becomes monopolistic, but I think once it becomes monopolistic, it begins to break apart from pure capitalism.
See, that's interesting. I don't really know. And part of me says yeah, and part of me says no.
But this is why it always occurred to me that as a capitalist society, by breaking the monopolies, we were in fact being anti-capitalist. But then I'm also wondering, but competition's a part of capitalism. The idea of growth and change, and then we put in the idea of why don't we like monopolies? Cool, they screw over the average person.
Yeah,
okay,
right,
so
right.
so that now that's a value structure that we're adding to it that is nothing to do with capitalistic viewpoints in and of themselves.
Yeah.
So all these things together make me wonder, is our monopolies capitalist? And I'm thinking, once they form, they're no longer capitalist.
Interesting. I don't know. I have to like run that by.
But you understand where I'm getting at, right? It's like it feels like, the free market, everyone competing, and we're getting improvements and better use of capital. Like part of capitalism is it's better use of capital.
Yeah, right. It's a
right.
very
Whereas if I'm
efficient
controlling the
allocation.
price by controlling the supply, it's no longer about a better use of capital. It's about me extracting profits out of okay, but let me reframe that. It's better use of capital for the individual company,
Yes.
not better use of capital for society.
Yeah, correct. Actually, yeah, and
Right?
that's the whole point. When you go to
And
business
maybe that's
school,
it. Capitalism for society versus capitalism for individuals.
Well, and this is the reason people don't, because they haven't really thought this through, right? Their brains are like disturbed because they think,
Well,
oh, it's so horrible. But they
That's
don't
because they're not
understand
like
how it
us,
works.
Scott. We have to make them like us.
Okay, I'm trying, Chris. I'm trying, but first of all, I'm trying to get my clear-headed brain working before I can help other people get their brain. But yeah, it's cool that this economics is such a funny thing. But here's what they train you in business school: they train you to own as much of it as possible, so you have as much control as possible, to make it so difficult for other people to compete against you. Now you own that market, and there's all sorts of techniques to do that. So that's funny.
Yes.
That's what they train you. So you go to capitalist for school, but then they train you how to make it non-capitalistic, right?
I really think that this is something that people need to think about. Is I think in a capitalist society that has allowed people unfettered capitalistic activity, that you end up with monopolies like this.
Well, and so, natural monopolies,
right? Because the person with the best idea is going to win.
And the best, and the best implementation as well.
And the best what?
Implementation, the one that can actually do.
So that was the second part I was going to. The person with the best idea, who then capitalizes on that idea, is going to come up with as the number one.
Yeah.
And the idea is if they continue that way for a period of time, they are just going to be 90, 95, 100% of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what they can do is once they have control, once they have significant money, whether it's oil, railroads, any of the like major infrastructure stuff, if somebody pops up to compete against them, I've got so much reserve. In fact, I can for a year or two, I'll lower my price so much I'm losing money, but I'll drive those guys out, and then boom, I'll raise it back up again.
But the idea is also, and the way the economy works, and the way our company owners and the like think now is, I can move into other industries. So I'm going to move into an industry. I'm going to be capitalist. I'm going to be monopolistic and own an entire industry.
Yeah, right.
Over time, industries change. The demand for oil, the demand for steel, the demand for whatever is going to change over time.
Yeah.
Right. And so I need to always be innovative and looking for either the next usage of what I already make or going into a new industry. So when you are the leader of something, you can then invest in other industries, and pretty soon that company that was a monopoly of one area is now a monopoly across multiple areas.
Yeah, if you can pull it off, but it's hard to pull off.
Well, so then what we've got is like the kind of the dystopian viewpoint of, if you ever read cyberpunk books, the idea, like I think it was Neuromancer was the first one I read that was like this, where you have companies that are basically as big, if not larger, than governments.
Yeah.
And basically, they are able to set their own laws and rules and have their own security forces
Yes.
to make their policy happen.
Yeah.
And so, and that I think it was, I don't think it was the fear back in the 1900, early 1900s when Teddy Roosevelt broke the monopolies. But I think that's a reasonable fear to have today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's always, that's the law of the jungle. It's ultimately, no matter what, power wins, right? Power decides.
Power, yes, yes. And the thing that the thing that I don't want to say alleviates, but and it doesn't control, but affects power is individual values and principles.
Yeah, it can affect
Right?
because there's always that other dude, and this is so funny because Bill Gates said this like I don't know 20 years ago. He goes, "What worries you the most?" And at this point, I don't know, they had like $100 billion in the bank in cash, right? And he goes, "What worries me the most," and it totally surprised the interviewer, is apathy in my company because I know because I know how fast this technology can win. And I know there's two dudes in a garage somewhere that's going to clean our clock because we get fat and we get lazy and we don't innovate. And he goes, that's my biggest fear because I know how, because that's what I did. And I know there's other really smart people out there going to do the same thing. Now we can push them back and we can sue them and we can do this, but ultimately the real answer is always going to come out. They're going to win. And they almost lost. Remember the web browsers? Because they were so far behind, they almost lost that game.
Yeah, I think Apple, who was really up against them in many ways, and did a lot, especially when they brought jobs back. But I think right now they're way behind in the AI game.
Yeah.
Right?
Who knows if they can catch it? Maybe they can. Maybe they can't.
Their business model for years has been never to be cutting edge on the new technology.
Yeah.
But once they saw the technology was there, was to build a really good UI.
Yeah.
And a really pretty device that allowed them to own the market, right? The iPod, the iPhone, and then things like iTunes. I mean, iTunes and the App Store were amazing inventions. And anyone who doesn't think of them as an invention doesn't know what they're talking about. Because in many ways, more important than the iPod and the iPhone, the iTunes broke an entire industry.
Oh yeah, broke
right. It just took the whole Napster idea where people were pirating
stealing
music,
stuff,
and put a price tag on it, but made it easy. I mean, the thing is how easy it is for you to download and install a piece of software today compared to the days when we were on floppies, right?
Yeah.
And here's 15 floppies to install this this software.
And you have to load it, and then it crashes. Oh, you forgot the right driver, and you got to update this BIOS thing.
I mean, none of that exists. We don't have to worry about that at all.
Just click,
That you want to talk about making life easy for the user. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the reasons why because I liked I don't like how proprietary Apple is.
Yeah.
But I didn't want an Android phone in the early days because the App Store for the Android was crap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The App Store for the iPhone was incredible.
Yeah.
And so I find it interesting that. But back to these guys of innovation. When you said apathy, I was actually thinking of I was going down a different track in my mind. I was like, when you have a founder of a company who's got a reason for that company to exist.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
And gets that reason out to their employees.
Yeah.
So their employees understand the boss believes in this, and this is what we're moving toward.
Yes, right.
That, to me, when they lose that, is when companies really begin to that's when they change, right? Their leadership changes. So you look at Apple after Jobs died, they're not the same company they were when he was alive.
Yeah.
And you think about Microsoft in many ways is no longer the same company because even though Gates is still alive, he kind of isn't in the day-to-day anymore.
Yeah,
right. So, but you think about Meta and Tesla, and those companies still have the founder involved.
Yeah, there.
So what happens when the founder doesn't get involved anymore? So I really wonder, even though we're worried about monopolies and how big they're going to get and how much control they have, and we have this dystopian view that they're going to rule the world, once the founder's not there anymore, are they going to be able to maintain it for generations? Are they going to be like a Ford Motor Company where you've got generations of Ford, or are they going to? Because what we notice now is companies that make it onto the S&P 500, they're not on as long as they used to be. I think they were saying old companies were there for like 60, 70 years. New companies are there for 15, 20.
Yeah, because they lose the magic, whatever the magic is. Yeah, that's interesting because because Apple, even though it's hugely valued, and I think Steve Cook is definitely not a visionary, but he's a great
He's
operator.
an
He,
operator.
he knows how
He's
to
an
like
operator.
optimize and scale, and he's genius at that. But if Steve Jobs was still around, Chris, we'd probably have 5 new things like we can't even imagine right now, and I'd probably own every single one of them.
You know, I don't know how big Apple was into like the glasses,
Yeah.
but I really want a pair of glasses where I can project onto my lenses
Okay. Yeah.
inside my
Like a
lenses, right?
heads-up display.
And there's
Yeah.
there's a couple that will do that, but
Yeah.
they're not really readily used for prescription lenses.
Yeah.
But I would love to have that ability so that when I'm talking to AI on the phone,
Yeah.
I can get the feedback directly on text up here.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't have to, you know how I don't like to listen to AI because I get frustrated at
Yeah.
how it doesn't listen well to me, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm talking to it and I'm reading the response,
Yeah.
that's my preferred way to interact with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well, Musk is solving that problem because his thought is like, listen, we've been interacting through a keyboard and a mouse, and now just recently through speech with a computer, but it's so slow. So he's like, let me just implant a little chip in your head so you can bypass all that. And now your communication speed is so much faster. And I'm like, who else would think of that crap, you know?
Yeah, okay, but how is that handling input into me? How does the
Because it
Neuralink...
slows it down because it's too slow. It's like,
No,
you know,
no. How does the Neuralink speed up my ability to process incoming data?
because it feeds it straight to your brain. It bypasses your ears. It bypasses your eyes from reading because you can only read text so fast.
So what's it doing? Here is this new idea. I said, hey, tell me about blank, and it's something I have no idea about. It's explained. Let's say I don't know what photosynthesis is, and here's this idea of what photosynthesis is. How is that getting into my brain without me processing that?
Okay, listen, here's the thing. You're thinking from an old context, right?
Okay, that's an excuse. Explain it to me.
So what is going to happen is you just know. It's like there's no back and forth, no processing. It's like you're just like, oh, I see how everything's connected now. I just see.
So normally I'm going to have to get text input in some manner, either vocally or in written format, right?
Yes,
This is our normal flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, oh, so photosynthesis is, and I'm going to have to say, okay, here's the sun, here's light, and I've got these different pieces of information that come together to form this grand idea that plants make sugar from sunlight, basically, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, I can put that together, but that's a step-by-step thing that my mind has to put together by linking things together, ideas together, linking words together to form this new idea.
Yes,
right? So that means that it's going to take a certain shape of neurons in my brain to make that idea occur.
Yeah, it's going to literally change.
Are we saying that this is going to basically mimic that shape of neurons in my brain without me ever having to process it?
I think it's step one. It's just going to be a faster communication. It's like upping the baud rate, so it's faster. Step one.
Okay, so this is important because to me, listening to AI is slow as hell. I want it to speak 5 times faster than it does because I can process that fast.
Fine.
So
there you go.
So if you give me that speed to be able to process it, and right now I'm able to read faster than it can speak.
Fine. There you go. Good.
Right.
Okay,
and not only that, I don't want to read everything it puts out because right now the crap it puts out, only about 20% of the response is worthwhile to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I need to get a better feed of information because I don't want the 80% crap that comes out of it. Yeah. And I need to be able to input it into my head as fast as possible, which speech does not do. So this idea of giving me a link, if all you're doing is linking the text to me faster, is not to me so drastic, like, oh, wow, I'm going to be that much faster. Yeah. I need you to take the text, put it into my head, map it to the existing knowledge in my head, which is different for everyone, so that it ties to it. The value of knowledge is not the piece of knowledge. The value of knowledge is how it fits in with other knowledge you have.
And ultimately how you apply it.
Right? So at some point, you can dump a book in my head. I still have to go through the pieces of information in that book and tie it to my existing knowledge base.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's in a file that I'm never accessing.
Yeah, correct. I think we're going to merge with it at some point. It's like we're going to become hybrids, sort of like
okay,
the Borg.
at some point though, I don't see that in the next generation. Okay,
Maybe not. Who knows? We don't
so,
know,
but,
right?
but what the reason why I'm making such a deal about this is our input is the limitation. It's not the output that's the limitation, right? So I can see, I can think a thought, and maybe if you capture the thought and turn it into text, or if the AI gets good enough to be able to read that in something besides text, that's great. But right now, how do you represent things? How do you represent thoughts without words right now?
Well, I don't know, Chris, but there, it's through neural pathways. Actually, I think you definitely think in terms of words, but I bet there's a deeper underlying thing that this structure gets converted into language. I'll bet you there's a layer underneath.
So that is to me, that has nothing to do with Neuralink. That has to do with the way we think, and that is to me, Neuralink may be the product you want to allow a machine and a human to interact. Yeah. But if we can't explain how we think, I'm having a very difficult time believing that we're close to a breakthrough there.
Well, I think that's where it's going to go, because it just seems like, in my mind, that's the next logical step. Now, I don't know how to do it. I'm not saying, but I'm thinking, like, if I'm looking at a system, right, and I'm thinking, okay, you got to figure out the right words to say. You've got to speak the words. It's got to listen. Or you type it, whatever it is, whether you speak or type it, actually, then it's got to go do its processing, and it's taking its logic, putting it back into words or text, and you've got to listen, and you've got to understand that. There's a lot of looping. Like, if I could just cut out all that transmission stuff and just go direct to the source, would be way faster.
Sure, but there's a lot of interpretation and individual interpretation that goes into processing data, and this is what makes the way you read something and the way I read something different.
Yeah.
Right. And so if the Neuralink is downloading the information you get and the information I get identically into my brain, as it's being downloaded into your brain.
It's not going to be identical. It's going to be mapped to the way we think. Actually, it's going to map.
So that again, so now we're adding a lot more complexity to
this. Tons, right? And we may not see it in our lifetime, 100%.
But so, like, I wonder, like, when we see someone who's able to use their mind to move a mouse.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So we have people who don't have the use of their hands, and they're able to think and move a mouse. Are they thinking go up? Or when they're moving the mouse up the screen, are they thinking go up? Are they and that thought go up produces a brainwave, a specific brainwave that then the machine reads, and then we program the computer to say, when you see this brainwave, the mouse should go up.
Probably, or I would think, yeah.
Or does the machine have a generic set of brainwaves that it understands, and that we have to learn just to think, you need to create this brainwave, whatever you need to do inside your head.
Probably,
right? Because when you say go up, and when I'm assuming it's the first way. I'm assuming when you think go up, and when I think go up, your brainwave and my brainwave probably are not identical.
Probably not. We probably are different. Let me tell you something I did yesterday, which is kind of freaky. It's kind of weird. So I did this thing called ExoMind. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. So here's like the brochure on it, right? ExoMind. I did it like strengthen. You can't see it, but strengthen your mind.
Put it in front of you. Put it in front of your face. There you go.
ExoMind, right? You can check it out if you want. Okay. And so what it is, it's a machine that's FDA approved. They put this thing up near the top of your head, under your prefrontal cortex, right here. And what the machine does for the first thing is it starts to map your neural circuitry, and it sends out pulses. And so they said, like, put your hand up like this. And as soon as like finger twitched, it's like, oh, now I'm like locked into your particular brain. And so everybody's brain, they move it around until they get this like connection built up. And then what it started doing is it sounded like a woodpecker attacking me on my head. It produces really strong bursts of electromagnetic fields that like actually through induction goes into my brain and like literally wakes up like my neurons in my brain, and it's used for things like addiction, neuroplasticity. It kind of just makes you smarter, and it's freaking wild, Chris.
Okay.
So you can go research it if you want. I'm literally doing it like right now. It's like my first session was the other day, and they just have phenomenal results from it. You can read all the studies. It's all out there,
So it's stimulating your brain.
but in a very special kind of way. It's literally like dialing in like your neurons, how they work, and getting the right frequencies to talk to just your neurons. I don't fully understand it, but I know enough data is that I go, well, it probably is not going to hurt me, so I'll take the risk and we'll see what it is.
I've seen a lot of devices that are supposed to help with the brain right now. So there's they're advertised on YouTube a lot. There's like this band that goes around the head, and it's supposed to calm you down and make you think better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think we understand a lot more than we did 20 years ago about the brain, but at the end of the day, I really don't know. I'm wondering if certain chemicals might be something we should be adding, to the body to enhance our ability to think.
Well, we do that all the time. That's called neurotropics or something. There's a whole
Nootropics.
nootropics, whole science about that, right?
Well, that's like the methylene blue, which I've
Yeah.
had a few times, and some other things that are out there. I mean, nicotine has that impact. There's a lot of things that have that impact, but I'm wondering if there's more specific chemicals that the brain produces that would be worth adding. And the problem is, how do you get them in there? Because if you're taking them orally, I think you lose a lot of it in the digestion. So how does it get to the brain?
Here's what you do. There's a couple of things that are like right now happening. One is creatine, right? You start taking larger doses of creatine that'll cross the blood-brain barrier. Rhonda Patrick and Peter Attia talks about that all the time. Another one is called BDNF. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
Yeah.
Brain-derived something that helps you think better. So there
So
are.
so the problem with so many of these is they really just sound like a health gimmick, like
be.
snake oil, right? And the thing is, with the amount of knowledge people have today, it could still be snake oil, but actually scientifically logical snake oil.
It could be. There could be some truth to it. I don't know. I think there's been enough research that they are starting to understand how to make your brain work better. And step number one, stop addictions. Stop putting sugar in. Stop putting poison into your body. Going down to meditation, exercise. I mean, these are cold exposure, right? I've been taking cold showers now. And literally, man, that's my new favorite drug, Chris, is, you get in a cold shower and it's like the first 30 seconds suck. The 90 seconds after that is miserable. It doesn't horribly suck. But then after that, you're like, whoo, man, I am clear-headed for a couple hours,
Yes. And I've been tempted to buy a deep freezer.
Yeah.
This is one thing that Tim Ferriss had talked about, was that you buy a deep freezer and you put it at like 40 some odd degrees.
Okay, that's
and
really
you fill
cool.
it with water and you just go and sit in it and then do a real cold plunge.
Yeah.
I don't have the space for it. I gotta figure out where I'd put that, because that's like the cheap person's cold plunge.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
It's what it is. And I've thought about that. But then the other thing I've seen recently talked about a lot is that the cold plunge does not have the same value as a sauna.
Yeah, no, saunas, they activate different things, so you got to do both, right?
Well, no, you don't got to do both. What I've actually heard is the sauna is where you need to be.
Yeah,
and
Rhonda
the
Patrick
sauna,
knows a lot about
and if
that.
not a sauna, a hot bath. I mean, really, just raise the temperature of the body.
Yeah.
So that seems to be, but I think when you think about Nordic cultures where people go from sauna out into the cold, yes, the shock is one of the things that wakes up the body as well.
Yeah.
So I think there's a value to the cold plunge, but I think in many ways it's been overhyped over the last 10
Could
years.
be. Do you know Wim Hof by any chance, the Iceman?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you could read his book. I've been kind of just.
Oh, I know all about Wim Hof, and
Okay, there you go.
didn't they inject him with some bacteria so that he injected himself? He had someone inject him with some kind of bacteria to prove that his system could handle it or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah.
But he's been in cold water that would have killed people. I mean, he's gone in and done all kinds of stuff, and his breathing technique. I mean, really makes you lightheaded.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
it makes me very lightheaded.
Yeah, it's just a lot of these technologies are ancient, Chris. Meditation. I mean, a lot of these things you can do for absolutely free with very low risk of any kind, but you just got to do them, It's like we live in this society that is so much noise in it that sometimes you just got to shut the noise off long enough just to be still for a little bit.
I'm telling you, as my daughter stays up later and later at night because she's a teenager now and she doesn't go to bed as early, I lose my free time at the end of the day, which is my
Yeah.
quiet time. That's
Yeah.
my time to just kind of be in my own head.
Yeah.
And so I've had to adjust and find other places to have that time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Maybe just going for a walk, right? A 45-hour, not 45,
45-hour walk.
45, just a little walk, Chris. It's going to take a couple days. 45-minute walk, just with no phone, no this, no music, no headset, just walk. And that's something really good about that.
I've done that, except for a while there, my knee was causing enough problems that after 10 minutes of walking, I was
Okay.
not limping, but my gait was changed. So I really need to get that addressed. So
Yeah, there's something like magical, and I'm sure there's good science about it. I don't know, but just walking around in nature, just getting away.
oh, nature in particular is incredibly important.
Like I'll tell you, there's a great walk by you. I really miss it. Are you familiar with the lake Laguna Niguel? In Laguna Niguel, the lake, the great park. Just that walk, boom, about 3 miles. Takes you about 50 minutes to go around it. It's a beautiful walk. I used to do it almost every day. I totally miss that, but
I've done it a few times. I like Laguna Beach has a great walk on the
there you
beach,
go, yeah.
right? And walking in the sand is an interesting thing
Yeah.
to have to do. And
yeah,
there's a lot of good places here to walk around. And during the pandemic, we would plan one every week, and we would go somewhere.
oh, nice. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
There's a really nice one up in not Lake Forest, Foothill Ranch.
Okay, yeah.
That
there's
goes up
trails
into
everywhere.
that goes up into a canyon, and
Oh,
it's
nice.
really cool. It's actually, I would say, a moderate as far as difficulty, simply because the height, the change in
Yeah.
height.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Good for your body, good for your brain, good for everything. Just unplug for like a little bit. That I know when I do that, I'll like be struggling with the problem. I'll taking all this stuff in, and I don't know if your brain works the same way. Then I'll be walking and literally just like poof out of nowhere. I just see the picture. I'm like, now I got it. I understand. I know how to solve it. Does that ever happen to you?
No, mine is usually to let go. So I've got too much stuff in my head trying to solve something, trying to figure something out, and I don't usually have a worry about how I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many moving pieces that I haven't been able to get my mind around all the moving pieces. And so what I do is if I walk, sometimes at night when I'm trying to fall asleep, these things are in my head, right?
Yeah.
And I got to get them out of my head. So if I go for a walk, then kind of the nothingness of of my mind takes over, and I don't worry about those things anymore. And then when I come back, I'm able to look at them and go, okay, I can see all the pieces now.
Okay, I do that sometimes. Sometimes literally, it's like it literally just pops in my head, the picture.
I rarely get the aha, oh, that's how I fix it. Because usually the how to fix it is somewhere baked into this noise of information. And the problem I've got is, all right, I know it's going to be one of these three methods to fix it. I just don't know how to put it together. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to frame this. And so that when I walk in nature, nature's best, right? When I go out for a walk in nature and I come back and it's like my mind is like, okay, none of that's been in there for the last 20 minutes or half hour.
Yeah.
Let's look at it again. It's like, okay, let me start with the solutions and then
Yeah.
build up each solution and then pick the best one.
That happens to me, but sometimes it just literally just pops in my head. It's like it just poof, just like there.
I rarely have that kind of aha. What does happen sometimes, it's like those same aha moments when you'll say something that my mind goes click and I go, oh, right? That does happen sometimes when I'm doing that,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Is like I'll get that piece of information that was not there or I had it filed away somewhere else and go, what if I did that? Boom. And that then allows me to rearrange the pieces in a.
It's like a visualization or something. But for me, it's like a subconscious process. It's not like thinking. It's like I think, and then it just poof, there it is actually. So when I was talking about Neuralink, that was what my interpretation would be, is like literally the answer just poofs into your head. There's none of this thought. There's none of the struggle. It just poof, there it is. Just because that's my experience a lot of times.
That doesn't happen to me.
Yeah. Because that's how I'm thinking, oh, Neuralink could do that. It could offload all the processing and just poof, there it is. Like literally
I do.
visually
I
a
do all
picture
the
in your head.
processing, right? I want to do the processing. The processing is what gives me my ability to do additional processing. It's like exercise.
Well, it's not that I don't process. I process a lot, but sometimes it just poofs in my head, the answer.
Rarely, almost never,
Oh,
do I get
interesting.
an answer
Okay,
that just
yeah.
pops in my head.
That's
It's
interesting. Yeah.
now maybe it's happening and I'm just shortcutting things.
Could be.
Like when if you say something, it's like my mind goes, oh well, that's what that means this,
Yeah.
right? And maybe I'm just getting right to it, and so when you're doing that you're going through the thinking process, and maybe I'm just skipping the thinking process because I've already built those logic flows all out. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like because where is it? On your left side, your prefrontal cortex, that's the one that does the logic, but it has to grind through it and it's slow. But then there's other parts of your brain that just literally just it operates much more faster, but more on instinct. It's like you don't need to maybe you do, but I don't need to think about making my heart beat or making my digestion work or like if it's so ingrained driving, it just sort of just happens like automatically. It's weird, you know?
But I think a lot of the logic stuff that the average person takes time to muddle through.
Yeah.
It doesn't take me as long to muddle through because I've done it many, 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 many times. Just
You've
like
trained your
I've
brain.
driven to
Yeah.
work many, 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 many times.
Yeah, right.
That it just happens at whatever pace it happens at in my head,
Yeah.
and I get to a conclusion. This is the problem I get is quite often I get to a conclusion in seconds
Yeah.
that others don't get to, and I
Well-
don't realize they didn't get to it because I got to it in seconds.
Well,
And so
yeah.
now I'm talking about this. Oh, okay. Well, that means we have to do X. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you said this. Okay, that means we have to do X. And they haven't gotten to that realization yet.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about this realization that I had in seconds, and they're still working through.
Yeah.
But it's because I've done the work ahead of time
Yeah.
or somewhere else. I don't want to talk. I don't want to sound like I'm that conceited, but I think a lot.
Well, you are a conceited asshole. I mean, let's just get to the point, right?
Yeah,
And
it
so
doesn't
am
mean I
I.
want to sound like one though.
Yeah, do right. You want to at least pretend, at least have the courtesy to pretend everybody else is not an idiot. But so I've been futzing around with like IQ a lot lately, and I'll have conversations with AI, and I'll ask it to estimate my IQ, and it's so interesting. My IQ is radically going up, and I had one thought that I was talking to AI, and it said my IQ was like 160 because I was kind of like putting stuff together that maybe most people won't put together. And I'm like, oh my God, first of all, if it's true, it's a great stroke for my ego, right? Because my ego loves that shit, number one. And then number two is that if this means an IQ of 160 thinking about what I was thinking about, it's like there's no way I could operate this on a regular basis. This would be just a once in a blue moon thing that I think because I've spent so much time studying other sort of stuff. And so like this just epiphany just pops in my head. And I don't know if that's total bullshit or if there's anything to it.
I would side more bullshit
Yeah.
than anything to it. Maybe 60-40 bullshit.
Yeah. So this
And,
is
the reason why I say that is I've taken multiple IQ tests and I get widely varying results.
yeah, widely varying. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that at that moment you're not operating it because there's a fixed IQ, which is like you can't go past it. It's the hardware says this. And there's something called what is it, like fluid IQ that can be affected by all sorts of things. Like if you're stressed out, you haven't slept well, you're getting in a fight with your wife, whatever. There's a million reasons
I
to
think
drop.
a big part of the thing that I don't like about the IQ test is it really is geared towards certain types of information and knowledge. And what I think that we're missing in the generic IQ test, at least, is kind of societal awareness, psychological awareness of the other things. There's because a lot of it is spatial, a lot of it's logic, a lot of it is, and I think that there's a huge societal and human element in knowledge and understanding that is not captured in IQ. And I think that is what really rounds out a person, is not just the intellectual horsepower.
It's just one metric. Yeah, it's one metric. And so what Grok is telling me that if you could just think about IQ like this, you'll be fine. This is all you need to know. Is that it's just your ability to see patterns, your ability to connect the dots. And the higher the numbers, the more your ability to connect dots up. And so it gave me an example, right? So I'm figuring out for this company I'm working with, how to build the parts of a robot hand right now and how it works and the actuators and how it's physically going to work. And so it said maybe somebody with an IQ of, and it gave examples, maybe an IQ of 120 could see one particular part. Is like, oh, I can see how this joint can work, and I can see a Bowden tube going back to a little tiny motor, to a transducer or something that would make that one joint work. And then it started giving examples of like different IQ levels. And then it, like an IQ of 160, it gave an example of, you can see the whole thing, the whole hand, how everything relates to other, like in one picture. And so that would be an example of like somebody operating at an IQ of 160. They just can see stuff other people can't see. And so that's what you're experiencing, Chris. You're seeing something that other people can't see. And so at that moment, your fluid IQ is higher than theirs.
Yeah, I wouldn't use IQ as the measurement of that, because I think there's a variety of factors in there, right? There's your baseline knowledge that you've acquired over time. It's how you've taken those pieces of knowledge and interconnected them in your head to understand how things work.
Yes.
That gives you kind of the big picture thinking.
Yeah.
It's your ability to process a thought through that web of information quickly and come to a conclusion.
Yes.
And usually it's doing that across multiple dimensions at the same time.
Yes, right.
I'm not just taking one idea, like what happens if this product cost 10% more, right? Yeah. I could come up with one outcome, but I could also come up with a dozen other secondary and tertiary, second and third order consequences of that. So this is why, again, you and I always talk about second and third order consequences. Is I can tell you, anyone can tell you the first order consequence, or they should be able to tell you the first order consequence.
It's easier.
I'm getting to second and third order consequences immediately, because those are almost equally important, sometimes more important than the first order consequence.
It depends. Yeah.
Right? And so what happens is when someone says, oh, this is what we need to do to get this to happen, I'm going, yeah, but what about these 15 other things that are going to happen as a result? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, this, and this. And either they're like, they don't see that those things are going to happen, so they'll discount it, or they're like, oh, you're overblowing something, or and the thing is, it's because they don't have as many neural connections to get to that as I do.
I think, but they just can't see it. They can't see the vision.
But when you talk to someone who knows their industry or knows their business or knows their skills or whatever, as a true master level person would, they can do it better than I can. They say, well, what about that? And what about this? Or if it's a totally different mindset, like let's say I'm in the engineering technical mindset and they're in the political social mindset, and they're looking at like, I don't care about any of the things you just said. These are the things that are dictating my thinking.
But you're gonna find the one dude that can put all those together that'll optimize for the political, for the funding, for how consumers are going to take it. Are they going to buy or not? What are the messages on social?
At the end of the day, they also need to have the executive decision making and mindset as well, right? So the issue is, you can have someone who can put every mindset together. Quite often, the most difficult part is to then have an opinion on what the right thing to do is. So you're an analyst. You could have an analyst who just understands every part of the world and can model any answer you want. But for that, then you ask them, what should we do? And they're like, I don't know.
Well, that's a different.
What is your priority? What is the decision you want to make? This is the interesting thing is, I'm often able to model every scenario you want.
Yeah.
But I'm much more reluctant to pick one.
Yeah. That's why this is my same thing I have. This is why I keep talking about it, but I'm still resistant. This is why you got to build. So if you have an idea, you're like you're a Tesla, or you're a not Tesla the company, but Tesla the dude, or you're Leonardo da Vinci or whatever. He would literally go and notebook and build these things as experiments at some point and prove whether they're right or not. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I think, Chris, we've got to go build stuff.
Okay, but Scott, why? Okay, I'm going to go back to this. Why do they want to build it?
Because they're driven. Who knows why? I don't understand why. So they're compelled to by something.
So when I come up with 5 ideas of things that could make the world better.
Yeah.
Which one do I put? Which one do I pick?
You just pick one of them. If are they all equally? If you put confidence intervals to each one, you pick the one with the highest con interval and you go test it. You go build it. You go test it.
They all have some. Let's say they all have equal likelihoods of being true, but they're totally different skill sets and they're in totally different directions, and they even have different outcomes. They impact different lives in different ways.
Then just
Some
pick
will make
one.
people smarter. Some will make. So which one do I pick?
Then just pick the one that you're gonna hate me for this one. You just there's a certain inner knowing that you have. You're like, this is the right one, and I don't know what that is.
And
but you're like,
that's
okay, this
the
is
problem I have, is knowing the one that I feel is the right one. They're all equally right. And that's so this is what I'm saying is, as an analyst, I can go through and tell you, for this outcome, this one outcome that I want, these are the probabilities of success of these 5 different ideas. The problem I have is I have 5 different ideas, each with a different outcome. Which one is the one I want to put my time into?
Ultimately, you build all of them and you test them, because what you're not doing. This is your huge failure point, right? And it's my failure point too. This is why I can see it so clearly. Is you're not building. And so when
Agreed.
when you build, then there's a certain intuition that comes that you don't even have to think anymore. You're just like, no, that probably won't work, you know?
So when I see someone who's creating incredible outcomes,
Yeah.
the thing that I'm looking at, the thing that I'm awed at, is what made you put the effort into that one? Is it that you saw no other solution and you built a solution and said, I'm going to put my effort into that? Or you saw 1,000 solutions and you picked one out of 1,000 solutions? And by doing that, I mean, you have to know what the goal is, right? If your goal is, my goal is, if we want to go back to Musk, is I want to protect the human race. I want to get energy sources so we can back up the human race on another planet. And so that's what my goal is. I'm going to build solutions that get me to that goal.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so that maybe that's a driving factor. So one of the things I've decided I need is energy. So we're going to do solar and batteries.
Yeah.
One of the things going to need is transportation. So I'm going to have and electricity is something that I can produce anywhere in the universe as long as I got sunlight, right? I mean, there's and so you can come up with ways to get to that. But what if I don't have a goal like I want to back up the human race? It's like I want to make people's lives better, but better could be in emotionally, intellectually, financially, physically. There's all these different ways, and I may have a solution for each of those. Which one do I pick?
Here's the thing,
right? That's where I'm at.
If you don't know, just flip a coin and pick one randomly, actually, because you've got to get into action. That's the ultimate answer. And when you get into action enough and you build enough prototypes, it's almost as like an external force is driving you. Like you're being called, you're being pulled like gravity to something. Like, I know you're being pulled to art, but see, you're not following that pull. You got to do more art if that's your thing. And we've talked about it, but you're not following your calling.
Art, art. I've got a lot of baggage around it being non-intellectual and therefore non-valuable. I think there's a lot of that I have to overcome. But
art talks to people's soul. It talks to their spirit. You know, it's like literally.
And again, so there's a lot of that. We're like, what's the value of talking to someone's soul? What's the value of talking to someone's spirit? I mean, there's a lot of that in there too.
Because you affect them in a deep way. I mean, you know, I was listening. I can't remember who it was, but there's a bunch of examples. Like if you have like a great band or a great singer, I was watching a little bit of like America's Top Talent or one of those shows, you know, with Simon and the Four People actually. And there's like people that come on and perform, and it's like literally for that 2 or 3 minutes they're performing. I mean, you look at the audience and the audience is mesmerized. It's like they're creating something somehow that's like literally uniting everybody together for a little brief moment of time. And that moment will never leave them. They'll remember that for like ever, you know, that'll be a peak experience for them.
Yeah, you're getting the dopamine hit when you watch that.
Massive dopamine hit, massive dopamine, and probably a bunch of other chemicals, something that almost verges on spiritual, right? I think.
So again, a lot of this comes to the fact that while I mentally understand the value of appealing to someone's emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
I don't feel it here.
But I think you do. It's not fed. It's so pushed down. That's why I keep telling you, go to jujitsu, go to jujitsu. So literally you can feel it in your body.
See, that connection I don't understand.
That's why you fucking that's why you got to go do it. Because you don't understand it. That's more of the reason you got to go do it. And you just got to trust, Chris. You've got to be faithful.
Scott, I've never, I'm going to say this, and I don't know that this is true, but I feel that I've never had something happen that I didn't understand at some level.
That's because you haven't pushed hard enough then.
Is it really?
Yes, 100%.
I don't believe that.
I know. That's why you just got to trust me, Chris. Just go do some art, make a flute, get a 99-cent like piece of canvas and paint something. I mean, you've got to like feed that part of you. And it's a different part than the intellect.
I mean, I've got a sketchbook here that I draw in, and sometimes I draw, and sometimes it's crap, and sometimes it's something I like, and I do get a feeling from that, but I understand the feeling. See, what you're saying is do something you don't understand, and I'm like, no, I because the way my mind works is I will pick at it till I understand it.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not saying don't do something you don't understand. I mean, that would probably be a good starting point, but I'm saying just do something, just some action. Just flip a coin. If you got 7 options, whatever, random number from 1 to 7, and just pick it. Don't think. Think less, do more. Like act your way to your thinking.
Yeah, and so and that is the difficult part for me, right? Is to default to action. We've talked about this.
Yes.
Defaulting to action, and just pick an action.
Just pick something. And it's, you know what? It's almost certainly going to be wrong. But I'm going to tell you something. When you go do it, you're going to learn way more than just sitting around not doing it. Because it engages more of your senses. It engages your body, like different parts of your brain. Like physical touch, right? 3-dimensionality. It's like different than thinking.
Yep.
Build a flute. I don't know. You build flutes. You build a whip. Whatever the hell you think.
I can build that stuff. Well, I know how to do that.
Okay, then build something you don't know how to do.
That's interesting.
Get some paint. I mean, if you love the art thing, because I know there's a piece of you that has the art thing, and I think that's underserved. That piece of you is underserved.
I'll agree with that. Finding the medium that I want to do it in is going to be tough. And I think technology has to be part of the medium.
See, I would say the less technology, the better.
I would say to me, the creativity is how to make technology serve my purposes in getting across a feeling or emotion to somebody.
I think you're probably, what's the right way to say? You're not wrong. You're just missing a big chunk of it because you haven't experienced it. I mean, just get something as low technology as possible. Get a frickin' like just a paintbrush and some paint, you know?
You know, I've drawn in books and that kind of thing, and I even think I want to do more of it, but I never bother.
That's me. That's the problem. That's the problem. What is my problem actually? Like I'm supposed to build stuff. I'm supposed to build and I'm supposed to teach. That's my God-given mission, right? And I'm not doing it because I have such a resistant block and I can't figure out how to get over that hump, but I've got to do it because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's probably fear blocking me, right? Because I'm not going to do a great job or I'm going to mess it up. And it's like, of course. So anyways, that I feel the same struggle.
Well, so one of the things that I've been thinking about is back when I was doing my personal branding boot camp that I was taking.
Yeah.
One of the guys had this term that he would say he wants to go Hemingway on something.
Okay.
And he was talking about Ernest Hemingway and the way Hemingway used few words to get huge amounts of meaning and feeling across.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And basically the way he would write was he would write and rewrite and cut and rewrite and cut. And basically, so going Hemingway was the idea to refine your message to make every word count.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And I'm like, that is cool, that to be able to have that skill set. But I'm like, how much time and effort went into writing for him to be able to do
A
that?
lot, probably most of
Right?
his time.
And I'm like, do I want to do drawing, painting, anything to that level?
Do you want to do it?
Because so much of what I enjoy is learning the next thing and getting, well, I'll call competency in that thing. I
Yeah, but
won't
that's-
call expertise or artistry in that thing. But getting competent in a lot of stuff, I enjoy getting competent in things.
I know you do. I know, so do I. But that's crack. It's sugar. It's like it's worthless. It's like you're trying to get your wife pregnant and you sit around masturbating all the time. It's like it's not getting the job done. You know what I mean?
But okay, but no. So what is the
Feels
job?
good and it's fun.
No, but what is the job?
The job is making a baby. It's like making
So
something.
in this situation that we're talking about right now, what is the job?
You to make something for you to do, because here's
So
the thing.
Scott, I'm going to push back here.
You push back
The
hard as you
more
want.
things I know, the more things I'm competent at, and have integrated that into my worldview, the bigger picture I can bring to any situation that I'm trying to solve a problem for. Right?
Yeah, you
and
have
so
the capabilities.
and so every time I gain a competency in something, I'm increasing my ability to see a bigger picture.
Yeah, I got you. But here's the thing. Unless you leave something behind, unless you make something, that is worthless. Zero. It's not worth anything.
What is the something you're making in that conversation?
You're leaving something like Hemingway left some really cool books. behind.
Great. All right. But what in this situation, what would I be leaving behind in your mind? Because to me, having the ability to think that big across things, and then being able to apply that to a situation and come up with better solutions and and I don't even have to be the one to do the solution. I could be the person who feeds the information to someone else who goes off and does it.
That's okay, as long as you have some kind of output.
Right. So to me, building that base of knowledge is what I enjoy and I want to focus on.
I know.
And then what I need to do is to have an outlet to make that useful to someone else.
Correct. That's the missing part. Whatever that outlet is, that's called building. Building something. Writing, building.
So in my world of consulting, it would be here's how you fix your problem.
Yeah.
And I don't have to fix it for you because I'm going to show you how to fix it and you're going to go fix it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. There's a part on Steve Jobs that talked about that. And he basically hates consultants because of that very
I know that, but it's because he's already figured things out in his own head.
Yeah.
He's his own consultant. So BS on all that kind of stuff.
Well, what if
Because
it's
there's a lot of problems with the consultants getting overpaid to tell you stuff you already know.
Yeah, correct. Right. Exactly.
Okay, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about bringing someone in who understands and sees a big picture and says, "Here's how you fix your problem."
Yeah. There's just so
I mean, that's what you're trying to do with your company, right? You want to fix people's problems.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do, Chris. But here's my thing, right? Because you're saying all the stuff that my brain is telling me. And that's why I'm calling BS on it, because you got more there. Both of us have more to give. Now, this podcast is a good start, right? But we typically meander and wander around and we talk about fixing it, but we really haven't fixed it because there's work to fix it. And that part
because we're finding the time to talk instead of finding the time to do things. But I get that, Scott. But my thought here is I'm also okay. This is so I'm going into default thinking, which is very easy for me to get into.
Of
right?
course, right? Yeah.
Now, but I'm going to also attack one of your premises here. I don't understand. I think you've got an idea in your head of what kind of outcome is a result of action, and you're thinking more tangible types of outcomes. And my outcome is less tangible. It's like I want to have the individual that I'm talking to think beyond where they think now. And that means I need to foster curiosity in their mind. I need to foster an understanding of analysis in their mind. I need to foster the idea that more information gives you better answers when you've integrated it into the way you think, right? Now, again, you can have too much information, or you can wait for too much information.
Always,
That's always going to be there. But I think the problem right now is people don't have the skills and ability to get information, to filter and use the right information, to understand, to ask the right questions to get information, which is curiosity. There's all these things that I think would make it better for people to figure things out. So in the process of me helping to solve your problem, I want to upskill you as an individual.
Well, that's good, but are you doing that?
For the people that I interact with, yes. So when I'm talking to, I found out about this week. I was talking to someone, and we were doing some work on one of their IT controls, and they gave us information, and it wasn't sufficient for our needs to prove that they did what they did. Yeah. And so we asked a few questions, and I realized they weren't understanding what our problem was in their evidence they gave.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so what I said is, here's what we're looking for, and here's the logic I'm coming from on this. Yeah. And as soon as they understood the logic, they knew where to go in their information to show me what that was. Yeah. But I had to explain to them why logically, you're talking from a tech viewpoint. Yes, you run this script, it does this, it does that, it accesses this, boom, 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 boom. Now the problem I've got is, how do I know that the script you're showing me right now is the script you ran 6 months ago? What have you done to prove that to me? What have you done to show me that? What kind of evidence do you have? Can you show me the document version from 6 months ago that you ran? Can you show me this, right? And the reason I need that is because if I'm going to sign off and say, yes, this is good enough, I need to be sure the thing that you did 6 months ago is what you said it was.
Yeah, I hear all that.
So I need to teach them the logic. So the next time I talk to them, they come to me with the information. They don't have to ask me these questions.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I would do the same thing. And I'm telling you, it's 99% bullshit. Because, yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because I don't know why. I don't know how to articulate this, but here's what I got to do, right? I've got to apply this to myself, and I've got to go build something in the next 2 months. And then I can come back and maybe explain it better to you. Because I don't even understand it myself, other than I just need to go in that direction. That's
so, Scott, I feel like you think that what you need to build is something more tangible, so that when you leave the earth, you said, this is Scott was here. And that's the feeling I get from what you're saying.
Yes.
I don't feel I need to have, I would love to have that, but I don't feel the need to have that. What I feel the need to do is, when I leave this earth, the people that I interacted with grew somehow.
And that's good. I mean, that's good. I mean, I think that is a good and noble thing. Here's the thing, though. Here's what it just drives me crazy about that is, yes, yes, yes to all that. But your potential and you have way more capability than that, and you're pulling back because of fear.
Okay, I'm not going to deny that fear is a factor here, but way more potential than that. And what are you seeing as the outcome of that potential? What are you seeing as the potential outcome of that potential?
I don't know.
I feel like what you're chasing here is something that is a much more tangible. It doesn't have to be physical, but something that's much more tangible as, this is my product. This is what I produced.
Some kind
this
of
is
output.
what I built.
This is what I
right?
built. Yeah. And really, yes. And really the only thing, sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
And I find that while I understand that, and that even appeals to me to a certain extent, it's not a driving factor for me.
Oh, it doesn't drive you. Okay, then maybe I'm imposing my internal I don't even
And
know what the right word is.
maybe this is your engineering idea. I'm going to solve a problem and build something.
I think so, because the only thing that I've really built that's of any real value is this, and we built it together, is this YouTube channel. This YouTube channel has the potential to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of content. I mean, for crap's sake, Chris, we've got over 1,000 videos up there. And by the end of right? And by the end of this year, hopefully, if we don't screw around too much, we could be at 1 million views, you know?
I would like, okay, and side project, I think it'd be really cool if we took all these videos, fed them into an AI, then had it generate a conversation between us.
I do that. I do that all the time. I pull in the text and I say, what are my weaknesses? What are your weaknesses?
Yeah, you do that, but I mean specifically, create the avatars, record our voices, and then say, there's the database to work off of.
Well, Notebook LM could probably do that easy, right?
But it wouldn't be our voices; it would be their voices. So
But
I'm
still,
actually
that's
saying,
okay, though, yeah.
but what I'm saying is, let's have it create the chat between us, feed
Yeah.
it into 11 Labs or whatever, and then have it have a conversation.
That would be kind of fun.
It would be.
Right.
It's. I don't think. Well, there's no immediate profitability in there, but there is an immediate. I think it would satiate a lot of our desire to learn stuff. It would be an interesting thing to show people to do, and I think we would be learning skills that would be useful along the way. But you're right. I don't think it has. I don't think it's a very big step in any goal that we have.
No, I think what it would do, though, is sometimes I'll review the transcripts and I'll get AI to summarize them and everything, and it gives me insight that I don't have, because now I'm experiencing myself, versus that you typically don't have that, right? You don't really get to see yourself very often. Unless you record yourself, or then it's a very different perspective, you know?
But you're just doing it off transcripts, right? So it's really
Just
things
off
you've said.
transcripts.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. But still, it gives some really crazy insights. It as a general rule, no matter what transcript I feed in, it generally gives this back almost every time. It gives you're more logical, more systems thinking, but you're limited in your thought process and you're closed-minded. It gives me.
Does it say in what areas or in what way?
No, I can't remember. This is just general stuff. You could feed it in. You can pull the transcripts down and feed it in. And for me, I'm more creative, but I tend to loop more than you do. It's like I loop around ideas and I don't finish things, and I'm more like random at stuff. So if it's suggesting is if we could team up, we would in some ways cover each other's weaknesses in a really interesting kind of way. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of why I think we work, Chris. There's a certain chemistry to us. Something makes sense when we're together in some way.
We're enough alike that we get along on most topics, so that even when we disagree, it's not like it's, I think too many people today, the problem is any disagreement causes them to give up a relationship or a conversation.
Well, that would be very short-sighted, wouldn't it?
I can't say that people are not short-sighted, though.
No,
So-
I'm saying people do it, but I'm saying that's a really bad idea, you know?
Oh, so I wanted to go off real quick on some comments we got. I was looking through here. So someone was upset that we were criticizing Jordan Peterson.
Okay, fine.
Do either of you realize how seriously, if not deathly ill, Mr. Peterson has been?
I
No,
do.
we'll get more facts before each mundane judgment. I'm like, yeah, I know. He was in a coma,
I
and
know, he's
they looked
bad.
for
He's
alternative
bad, yeah.
medicine for him, and he went to
that guy's awesome, right?
he went to Europe, and like, yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think intellectually, the guy's a powerhouse.
Genius.
I also think he's
wrong.
He's gotten very jaded over the
Yeah.
way the society has treated him over the past 10 years. So,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, and I find him a lot harder to listen to today than I did in the past, though.
Yeah. The thing that I don't like about Jordan Peterson, I mean, I like 99, but the part I don't like is how angry he is at things. He
Seems angry, but also as I've watched more and more of these attacks on debate, and what I've noticed is these people who are attacking these debate tactics are more liberal right now, at least the ones that are fed to me on YouTube. I've seen, I've seen a lot of like, oh, this person shuts down this person, or this person cancels this
Yeah,
person, or yeah. And the problem with most of that is I don't see logic. I just see people calling out sound bites and saying, oh,
yeah,
look at this, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
well, there's no thought there,
Because
and
that's
I'm
what
seeing a
manipulation
lot.
is,
I'm
right?
seeing a lot of that on the right, some of it on the left, but a lot of it on the right. The thing that I've noticed though with these analytics now, where someone goes into a debate and argues them, is they're taking apart a lot of the rights arguments.
Yeah,
And so one of the things that's been pointed out in Jordan Peterson's case is how he gets around a lot of how he uses a lot of logical fallacies,
yeah.
and I think we all do. I mean, even you and I talking, we
Oh,
use
all the
logical
time,
fallacies.
all the time, all the
So
time.
but I think it's interesting to have it called out. And so this one guy I watch, he really says this is this fallacy. Sometimes I disagree with him, but I'd say 80% of the time, what he calls out is like, oh yeah, I see how you're doing that. And I go, do I do that? Oh man, sometimes I do that. Or oh no, or sometimes I'm like, I want to learn how to use that logical fallacy. I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Because then I can shut down a conversation if I don't want to have it.
yeah. No, and that makes sense, and that's why you got to go to jujitsu, Chris, because what's the right way to say it? Higher belts will not allow you to use bad logic. You get punished for it physically, instantly. Because they're like, that's not the technique. You're sloppy on the technique. You didn't implement it right. And now I'm going to punish you for it. And then after a while, you really start learning the actual technique, like a golf swing. It's like maybe you could cheat on your golf swing today and be really well, but long term, if you give up some of your game right now, you'll gain way more in the future because your form is more perfected. That's what jujitsu teaches you when you're dealing with people at a very high level.
I can take that. I can take that comment in three different directions, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit in the comments real quick here. So
yeah.
anyway, yeah, I thought it was interesting how the person thought we were overly critical of Jordan Peterson. And the
Well,
fact that,
and my thing to him is like maybe we are, but he probably deserves it in this case. And that's not to demean Jordan Peterson is brilliant. I love him. I watch him all the time, actually. But something has changed in him, and I don't know,
well,
what it is. Right?
but well, I'm going to go back to the comment. I think it's interesting that that is the takeaway someone had from us in the way we talked, and I'm wondering, did the tone in the way we talk sound like we were belittling him,
Oh, I
or
can see it.
did,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
or is this the commenter's mindset interpreting what we said?
Probably a little bit of
Right?
both would be my
Because
guess. A
at
little
the
bit
end
of both.
at the end of the day, I'm like, I well, I don't listen to Jordan Peterson as much as I used to, but I used to listen to everything he put out,
Oh, all the time.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder now, do we need to adjust the way we talk for the audience, or is it really up to the audience to interpret it as they want? If they're only hearing a soundbite from us, they don't have any of the other background to understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, they miss context because I'll tell you the thing that bugged me the most about Jordan Peterson is because he's talks about the Christian things, the Christ, the this, but when that one guy in that one debate asked him, "Are you a Christian?" he would not give the answer actually, and that's like
Yeah,
Peter in the Bible. He denied Christ right there, just hard stuff. You know what I
I
mean?
don't, but I think it's I think it's his scientific background. Even though it's psychology, still there's a level of scientific idea. If you tell me to say something 100% so as a scientist, I can't. So I've always thought about this. Like if you were to take a scientist and put him in a court of law, in a court, and say, "Hey, is this true or not?" I think if you're a true scientist, it goes, "I believe it to be true. I think the probability is exceedingly high that it's true. I would even rate that probability as 99.9999999% true. But I cannot tell you that it's 100% true
Yeah,
because
I
that
can
is
see
my
that. Yeah.
opinion and not fact."
It's my opinion, but I would for me personally, I would say this. It's like I believe it enough where if I had a gun to my head, I wouldn't change my thing. Kill me then.
Well, he didn't even use the gun to the head somewhere in
Okay,
that conversation.
maybe somewhere. Yeah.
I think the idea is if you're looking at it from a scientific perspective, I can't know anything 100%.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right?
Fair
If
enough.
I'm looking at it from a truly religious perspective, then someone should be able to state for a fact what they believe.
What they believe, like this is my path, and some people are gonna like it, and some people are not. But
Yeah.
it's just this is
And
my deal.
and for day-to-day conversations with the average person, you need to probably fall to the this is what I believe
Yeah.
binary yes or no, black or white, good and bad, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? We need, because that's what simplifies our ability to communicate. If every conversation I have with you is yeah, but or
Yeah.
maybe, then
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to have a
It's
conversation.
harder, but yeah, there's more. Yeah, this is a difficult one because it depends on how important the outcome is. Like if it's life or death, I'm going to choose much more carefully than maybe if I give the wrong answer, I don't get the extra slice of pizza, which I don't want anyways. It's like I'm like whatever, right? Who cares, right?
By the way, it's really hard to say no to an extra slice of pizza when it's free. I've got to overcome this programming in my head that when food is freely available, I don't need to eat it.
Here's the thing, Chris. The way I tie it too is I have no problem with that anymore because I know how impactful my diabetes was. And I'm like, if I have that pizza, I will die. That's what I hook up in my program. And living is way better. Let me go make an awesome steak with some butter on it and some green beans.
Scott,
and I'll be
you're not in a
totally
position to go
satisfied.
make an awesome steak. You're in that room with a bunch of other people and they've got this food and everyone's eating the food. You don't have to eat it, but it's there for free and it helps you interact with. It's like social drinking, right? The idea of drinking to be part of the group. There's a lot of things like that that I think are the way our minds view that, and we just need to let some other piece of programming override that
Oh, yeah. And I
social
put that
piece,
in.
right? Like here's the social benefit of me drinking alcohol. Here's the social benefit of me grabbing a slice of pizza. Oh, and by the way, it tastes good, and it's gonna make me do. It's gonna hit all these
Give you
other
some dopamine. Yeah, exactly.
aspects too, and so that I think is really kind of the this is where the kind of the habit thing you were talking about comes in.
Yeah.
I've got to address every one of these things and figure out how this habit makes that better, makes this better, right?
So,
And I've been in situations where I just ignore food entirely, you know,
yeah, just ignore it. Yeah.
and I can do that when I'm in the right mindset. But at the end of the day, when you're tired, when you've been working, when you're emotionally spent, when you're intellectually spent, your willpower goes down. Your ability to think the way you just said is actually harder.
It's
So
harder to do.
so you just need to avoid the
yes.
situation entirely. But if you have to be in that situation, now you've got a willpower issue fighting against what you want. So
I think it's what you want. Yeah, that goes back to the essence of the SEAL training. Get back in the water. Get in the water.
yeah, but I don't see. So this is it, right? You got a commanding officer telling you to go do something. You
Yeah.
can default to this is the boss. The boss is telling me.
No,
You need to.
they don't tell you. In fact, what they do is go ring the bell right now. Ring it. In fact, I want you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Ring
I see
the
what you're saying.
bell
Okay.
right now. Get out of here.
Tap
and you'll
out,
get hot
tap out.
pizza.
Go
Tap out,
tap out.
right now. In fact, I'd prefer that because I want to tap you out as soon as possible because I don't want to go into a battle with you because you're weak-minded.
So, but I guess the thing I'm thinking here is getting your mindset to default even when you're emotionally tired, physically tired, intellectually tired,
Yes.
to default to that.
Comfort is where you default to.
Yes, you default to comfort, but to default to the thinking of what is it that makes you get back in the water? What is the thought that's going through your head that makes you get back in the water? To default to that thinking.
I don't think it's a default case. I don't think it's where it's like it's a decision every step of the way because I want the result so bad, I'm willing to pay for it.
So, what is it that allows you to focus on the result so bad?
Because I
That,
think
because I'll tell you, when you're in that moment of weakness and you're looking at the slice of pizza and you just don't have the willpower to say no to it, I'm not thinking, or whoever's not thinking about, oh, but in 7 years this is going to come back to haunt me, and or any of that kind of long-term thinking. So how do you default to get that to be the first thought in your head, saying that's what I'm after, not this immediate dopamine hit, not to feel something in my tummy and it makes me feel good.
well, I'll tell you the way I do it. I do two techniques, right? I tie it to a lot of pain being in the hospital because I had diabetes and they were considering cutting my toes off because the wound wouldn't heal, right? Like I was right on the edge. And I literally put myself back into that shape and I tie that pizza equal toes gone, right? And then I tie it to another future vision is like, listen, if I can get my diabetes, I can start to get it cured. I can start to walk. I can start to build things. I can actually do the God-given mission that I'm called to do. So right now, in this 2 seconds, I get to make a choice. Do I want to get my coast cut off? Or when I get to speak to God later on, he's going to tell me, good job. You did what you were supposed to do. And that's usually enough for me to bypass the pizza.
I get that. How do you make sure that thought comes up?
It comes up every time.
Okay, so
I mean,
how do you make sure it comes up every time?
I don't know. It just comes up, Chris.
See, that's what I'm saying is it's so easy to not think about the long term. It's so easy not to think about that. So how do you get the focus to where before you take any action, the thought is this moving me towards my goal or not? So many people make decisions that have nothing to do with a goal. They just like, yes or no, I want this, I don't want this. So how do you change your thinking that every time you need to make a decision, you're thinking about that long-term goal?
I would say,
you understand what I'm saying? How do you
think
focus?
so. You do little baby things and you build up, right? You just do, like, you go to the gym and you're like, okay, if I don't really want to do something, and I don't win. Listen, I've mastered this against food, right? I've got it. I'm locked in. That doesn't mean that I am not going to be tempted and I may falter at some point in the future.
Oh, you will.
But the
It'll happen.
longer I go, the less chance there is of that. And I don't think so, Chris. I don't think so.
So if you tell me a year from now, I we can do like the Alcoholics Anonymous because I'm a junk food eater, but I haven't had junk food in a year or something like that.
Correct.
Right? We'll see if you can do that. I think it's very easy to break for, because part of it is because we don't have the societal guilt that we have with things like alcohol and other addictions. Sugar, as much as we rail against sugar, societally we accept a lot of that stuff. So I think it's easy to fall off, but I also think that you'll get back on it. You'll get back on the wagon.
I'll get on, but I'm not going to fall off because my ego at this point, in fact, more than my ego, my identity won't let me do that. I'm my identity.
I hope that's true. I really, and I think you can do it.
Yeah.
Realistically, I don't think you will, but I think you can do it. So I'd like to see you do it.
Yeah, well, I plan on doing it, Chris. Just now you've given
Good.
me one
All
more
right.
step.
So, come October of next year when we're talking, we'll see if you've had any junk food in the year.
Perfect, because you got to remember this is. I'm going to read my identity, right? I am God's servant, forged by obedience, fueled by discipline, armed with clarity. I speak with purpose. I lead through results. So I say that like 10 times a day.
Good.
And the more I do that, the less chance I'm going to eat the pizza. And what I typically do too is a lot of times I'll wait. In fact, sometimes I'm not doing like an intentional fast, but I'll intentionally wait until I'm hungry and then really hungry before I eat, because I want to instill that discipline that my mind's in control, not my cheap desires, right?
Yeah. It was noon yesterday and I'm like, I haven't eaten anything yet. I'm not really hungry, but I want to eat something.
You want to eat something. Yes. That's just your mind wanting to sit down on the couch.
Right. And I'm like, well, I could eat something. I could not eat something. I did, because the thing is, when you're busy and you're not really having a need for things in your body, the hunger is like when I fasted in the past, and I haven't had a problem fasting until I want to eat something that crunches.
Yeah.
It's not, sometimes it's the sugar. In fact, my problem right now in the last month has been the sugar cravings, which in the past I've been able to get rid of. For some reason, I'm having a harder time right now, probably because it's so readily available in the house.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the crunch. I've always wanted the crunch of chips, the crunch of a cookie, and not like a soft cookies, but crunchy cookies.
Yeah, like the crunch, yeah.
And I've always wanted the texture, and often when I'm fasting, like a multi-day fast, it's like I want to experience the act of eating. I want to chew.
100%.
I want to swallow. It has nothing to do with actual hunger. It's other things that are feeding into it. So I think you reading out your statement multiple times a day is probably that's probably a good action someone could take first, right? Because you do that to where that is ingrained in you, and then as you begin to recognize places where you're being challenged on this identity, you just say, I'm going to read that.
Yeah.
In my head. I'm going to say it in my head, right?
Say it in my
because
head.
I think the idea you've got here is like the first time you do that, it'll feel rusty and like you're working a muscle for the first time. The next time you recognize something, oh, this is challenging my identity again.
Yeah.
You read your identity again.
Yeah.
And then every time you do that, you build a default to think about your identity.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And so I think this is what we're talking. I want everyone to understand when you're challenged with something where you don't have the willpower to fight it, how do I default to thinking about the future? In this case, you've got your identity statement. So you need to default to, that's against my identity. Here's my identity statement. I'm not going to do that thing.
Yeah.
No matter what your willpower is.
It doesn't matter. Willpower is irrelevant in this whole thing.
Right. But I think that's what I'm getting at, is getting the mind to think outside the moment.
Well, and what you got to do is this is called growing up. This is called being a man, not a child anymore, right? Children are driven by their emotion. Men are driven by mission, not their emotion. They work and they do the right thing, whether they're hungry or whether they're tired or not. It doesn't matter. They do what they're supposed to do.
I'm split on how to respond to that.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I think in an idealistic viewpoint we have, and it would be considered probably old-fashioned to say this, right?
Toxic masculinity, the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing, right? I think when you think about the role in a traditional society, it was the men's role because they had the physique to be able to handle the physical aspects that needed to happen. They would go out and do the more dangerous thing.
Yeah, right.
Right, which means they're very goal-oriented, because why do something dangerous unless you had a specific goal in mind?
Yeah, right.
Right. So I would say, yeah, there's that. I would argue that the way society is today, the definitions have changed, the way people are has changed, and maybe the future state needs to be somewhat different. I think the ideal behind what you're saying makes sense, but I'm wondering if it's a man thing or if it's just a grown-up thing.
It's a grown-up. Well, when I say man, I mean that's a grown-up child. You're not a child anymore. You're grown.
But using the word man is only half the human race. Do you not think that?
No, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not addressing anybody else.
Okay,
I'm solely from my thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I think what we have here is, I think that adults in our society, and probably multiple societies around the world today, do not think the same way that adults did in 50, 60, 100 years ago. And because of that, a lot of the things that you would say are non-emotional, get things done, goal-oriented, have been negatively impacted by other factors that we now rate as highly valuable or important.
Yeah, and that's true. But I'll tell you something, Chris, even with all the nonsense, even with all the wokeness, all the craziness going on, women will still respond to the strength of a man who stands up and has character and says, I'm not going to do this, and he doesn't do it. There's something just biology just built in that's beyond software.
Okay, but why are you limiting it to men? If I see someone stand up in general, I will respond positively to what they're doing. If I understand that they're standing up for an ideal, they're standing up for someone's life, they're standing, and again,
I'm not excluding women. I'm just speaking about men at this point. Just because I speak about something specific doesn't mean
the problem is when you speak about something without caveating it in today's society, you are speaking only about men at this point.
Well, at this point in time, I'm only speaking about men. Yes, at this point, right now.
And so I think that this is the political correctness coming into play here. But I really think we got to be careful how we state that, because I think the value that you're extrapolating from this is not specific to men. It's just that you're saying to yourself, I'm a man. This is what I need to do.
This is what I need to do. Yes, exactly.
Right. This is not like all men are this way, and therefore all society is this way. I think I'm trying to caveat it here so that someone listening isn't misinterpreting what you're saying as being chauvinistic or whatever.
Well,
misogynistic
here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I should probably speak more precisely, because as we talked about before, it's my responsibility to make sure the message goes out properly, right?
Yep.
But I don't want to caveat so much that I miss a fundamental truth, actually.
Well, but if you make it about yourself, you say, for me, this is me as a man in my world, this is what I need to do.
This is what I need to do because I have strong men around me and I see the pattern that they're most effective. They're not the 35-year-old that's living in mama's basement playing video games and jerking off to porn all day long, that basically are completely ineffective, that can't do anything. And I know that's a stereotype, but there's a lot of truth.
And I wonder how much of that stereotype actually is true. I mean, I think it's on the increase, but I really wonder how much of that stereotype is true. And what made me think about that this week is that several of the people I work with are professionals, and these are kids, right? They're like 24 years old, 25 years old, and
Chris, that's a man. If it's a man, or that's a woman. That's not a kid anymore, you know.
But from our age perspective, it's a kid.
I understand that, but they are they're full-grown men, right?
But what I'm looking at is I'm looking at how they live their life, the professional job they're in, likely what salary ranges they're in, and the responsibilities they have, versus an equal age person, 24, 25, who is working a service job and the responsibilities they have. And I'm like, there are people at all levels and doing all levels of thing. So I do think, there's less kids, there's people getting married later, people aren't buying houses, all the things that have changed in society. Yes, I think all that's there. And I can point to things like social media and porn and other things that are negatively impacting that.
Addictions,
but,
yes.
But talking about the stereotype the way it is, I don't know that that's actually meaningful or valuable. Right. I think at the end of the day, what you want to talk about is purpose. You want to talk about goal setting. You want to talk about focusing on the future, focusing on what's his name? The comedian Jimmy Carr says, it's focus on the future, focus on focus on the future, I think is what he says, or like, prioritize future is the term he uses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just that alone. If you think that way in your life, I'm going to prioritize the future, life gets better.
Yeah, I would say that. Usually it just as a general rule, though, we've seen this happen so much where people are just getting weaker and weaker and weaker.
Mm-hmm. But if they were to prioritize the future, they would not get weaker.
And I'll tell you who's
two words, prioritize future.
Prioritize future. Fine. I'm 100%. That's good. That's it. But it's like women see this thing too, because when I used to have a bunch of women working for me, they had a tremendous frustration because they're like, men aren't men anymore. All they want to do is sit around and play video games, and they don't even want to date anymore because they don't want to take the chance. And it's like there was a generalized frustration from women. They're like, where did the men go, So
I think there's a generalized frustration from men, but we don't talk about that either.
Well, we should be talking about it. But I'm not here
to fix society. But we can't because the emphasis right now has been on inequality, sexual inequality for hundreds of years. And in the past several decades, it's begun to change. And in several places today, it's actually the benefit is towards the women, but we don't talk about that because that hasn't happened yet. So I think eventually we'll get to the point where the sexes are much more equal in the way we view them in society. But it's gonna require us to accept a lot of things about sexuality or sex that is probably true and ignored today, but also accepting a lot of things that were true and not even thought about in the past. So it's a realization that people on the conservative or liberal side of this viewpoint, they're both right and they're both wrong.
Yeah, and I don't know about the liberal thing. All I know is what worked in my company, and I hired mostly women because they did a better job. They were more conscientious. They were smarter. They were less likely to leave. I mean,
one of the things
I made more money from them, right?
As America became much more service industry oriented, as we exported all of our industrial base pretty much and became much more service oriented, these jobs actually benefited women a lot because they were jobs that women do better than men as a general rule.
Yeah, they're more conscientious, they're more caring, right?
Yeah, they're better at multitasking than men are. Men are just not good at multitasking. Yeah, and I'm saying these things as obviously there's exceptions to every aspect
every
of
rule
this. But this is what they find is more people that are going to college are women. Is the result of more women in the workforce in certain fields because of that, or is that because women see that as a way to to gain value in society, to gain the ability to make wealth, to gain ability to have power. So I think what you're seeing, and you know, again, since men are not as good at that, I mean, they excelled in certain fields that were much more focused and not about handling multiple things at once. But yeah, no, every boss I've had for the last 18 years has been a woman.
Interesting. Cool. That's
right. And honestly, to me, I know who's good at one. When you learn individual people and what their skills are,
yeah, right.
You know how to go to them and say, hey, I need this from you, and you know
Yeah,
their
right.
mindset is going to be better at this or better than that.
Yeah.
Right. And I would argue that it's not just sex; it's a mindset issue.
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah. But there are generalities about women and men. We're Chris, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're different. We're made up different. Our biology is different. The hardware is different. The mindset's different.
Oh man, you're going into horrible territory there. You're going to get in trouble for that.
Because I observe it, Chris. I observe it. Like I sometimes I see like playing in my front row, there'll be like 2 or 3 boys like running around playing. Guess what they want to do? They want to pick up a stick and they sword fight and they want to fight each other. I see this 2 or 3 girls getting around and they want to talk about tea and Barbie dolls and building a family.
Boy, your stereotype is because that was never my daughter. So.
It's like, Chris, it's like, this is just what I observe, right? And I know there's things to it, but it's
no, my daughter wanted to be an artist and create artistic things.
That's awesome. I'm just saying what I've observed from 6 kids, right? 3 boys, 3 girls. And that's what I saw.
Yeah. But you know, it's like, I think to some extent the stereotyping is a problem, right? The idea that girls go through a princess phase and boys go through a dinosaur phase. There's a lot of truth to that, but it's also not you know, it isn't a given that that's the way it's going to
be. No. I don't think I said that. If I did say that, I don't mean to say that. I'm just saying
but the examples you gave about talking about tea and building families, I mean, that was.
But that's what I observed, Chris. That's what I see. Mm-hmm. As a good scientist, right? I just observe what I see. Mm-hmm. I don't try to put value judgments on it.
So, but what does it matter if there is a difference biologically? What does that matter from a societal viewpoint?
What does it matter
from a society's viewpoint, not from a biological viewpoint? Because if society does not class men and women as different, and then adjust its behavior towards men and women differently. If the idea of the society is we're all equal, then your biological differences don't matter.
Sure they do. They matter 100%. Because men can do things women cannot do.
So you're saying society should treat men differently than women?
Of course, 100%.
So give me an example. What should society do in the way they treat men than the way they treat women?
Well, I don't mean it to be in an unfair way, but men typically get trained differently than women do.
Doesn't different mean that you can't be fair?
I don't think so at all. In fact, I think you want to be as fair. Yeah, you don't. Hey, here's my beef, right? This is what I don't like. I don't like raising up a man or a woman, and when I say raising, as I'm talking about all men or women, at the expense, like women have been elevated more than men recently. But here's what I don't like. I don't mind the elevation of women at all. That's 100% good. But not at the expense of pushing men down. I don't like that. And I don't like raising men up at the expense of pushing women down. That's my only beef. I want to just
your argument is that society right now is pushing men down.
100%, yes. Yeah. You can see it in every commercial, you see it everywhere.
As opposed to the idea that just men are not stepping up.
I think so, because I don't think they're being trained properly.
Okay.
Because biologically, the average man is going to be stronger than the average woman.
Sure.
Okay.
Again, how? But what are you saying society needs to do in that situation? So men are generally physically, on average, physically stronger than women on average.
Yeah, right.
And I say on average because I want everyone to realize
on average, of course. Yeah, there's
always
stronger women than men. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so now, how should society act differently from one to the other?
I think what society do, they should optimize for ideally each person. But if you can't do that, then let's optimize for at least class, right? And when I say class, I don't mean race. I mean biology, men and women.
So I'm trying to come up with what you mean by how society, because to me, society needs to treat everyone equally. So the way I would view that is, hey, we've got this job over here. It requires this level of physical strength.
100%.
We're going to have a higher percentage of men who qualify than women because of the average, right?
Yeah, right.
We're not going to treat it differently. We're not going to say we want more men. We're not going to say we want more women. We're just going to say this is the minimum requirement. Come over here. If you're strong enough, you can be this job. Yeah. And therefore, society is not making a judgment call and adjusting anything for race. It's just saying, here is the job. Here are the requirements. Come as you can and fill the job.
100%.
All right. So to me, that society is not treating anyone any differently in that role.
They are.
No. They have not treated people you differently based on it. They say, here is the qualification you need.
They're trying to push it back. So for instance, in special forces, they want to get a woman in there so bad. It's like they're salivating over it, but she
Scott,
just can't meet the requirements.
Scott, what I was saying is, you were saying that society needs to treat people differently, and I'm saying no, they don't. And you just made an argument for why they're doing it wrong, because my argument is no, they don't. You just made my argument for me. So I'm trying to understand. You were arguing that because men and women are different, society needs to treat them differently. And I'm like, no, they shouldn't. I'm saying no. So on your scenario, what my argument is that Special Forces says these are the requirements we need. I don't care if you're a man or a woman or something else. What you're going to do is you have to meet these requirements. Now, the thing is, the requirements could be things that align more with male biology than female biology, but that is not what the requirement's about. The requirement is not saying you need to be male or female.
Yeah, I don't.
So, in other words, my viewpoint is society should not say we're going to prioritize one over the other. Now, I can make an argument why it should or could, but I'm not doing that right now. What I'm making an argument is in a perfect society, we all have jobs based upon our capabilities.
Ideally, you would base it on the individual.
Upon our capabilities, exactly.
On our capabilities. The mental mindset, the makeup, the discipline.
And it just so happens that some of your requirements, some of the dimensions you're going to base people off of, are more heavily female than male, or more heavily male than female.
Yeah, fine.
Right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that in the service industry, a lot of jobs really align well with a lot of female characteristics that are more feminine than masculine, I would say.
Yeah.
Whereas in the old days, when it was all physical labor jobs and industrial jobs and blue collar workers and all that stuff, that was really about physical strength, which men had the advantage of.
Yeah.
So as we've seen women enter the workforce, get the education, get the jobs, and get more power, my question now is, what you say is pushing down the males versus propping up females. Is that truly a societal thing, or is that just a shift in fiscal power and political power, because women are now better represented in the workforce, and women now have more power than men right now? Well, and so what I'm saying is, I don't know that it is a societal viewpoint that men are bad and women are good. I can make that argument, but what I'm saying is, could it also just be that women have a lot more power today because they're in the workforce, because they've got the professional jobs, because they make more money, and that men don't have that benefit anymore of having that over females? And that is what I'm saying. So I'm trying to come up with an issue that isn't just like we treat people unfairly. It's like, could this be the natural flow of how society has changed?
Well, I guess so. And so here's what's going through my mind right now. I don't really care that much about the issue, and I haven't thought it through, and I don't want to spend the time thinking it through, because what I'd rather be doing right now is stopping the podcast and getting on to my list of things, which I need to understand: material properties, building a presentation, and then figuring out how to make my oscilloscope work so I can make a goat tracker. Like this has
make a what tracker?
Make a goat tracker, because I've got particular things that I've got to build. And this this conversation right now is not benefiting me at all.
Okay. And that's fine, Scott.
It's not important, but I don't care that much, other than the fact that I do not ever want to see a man or a woman pushed down to benefit somebody else. I want everybody pulled up. I don't want to push somebody down for the benefit of somebody else.
The only comment I would make is when you look at something and you're saying something is being pushed down.
Yeah.
Is it your filter and your mindset that's saying that, or is it objectively true?
Well, in my opinion, it's objectively true. I mean, men getting a bad rap right now, right? I mean, they're yes. Yeah, look at the commercials. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
I mean, I can make the argument. I can agree with you.
Yeah.
And I can point out examples that that's true. But I'm gonna challenge you to prove that.
Okay, I guess I don't really care that much.
And you don't want to prove that. I get
really,
that.
I don't want to
but
spend
the point
the mental energy.
you made a comment, and I want you. And my thought here is, I want you to question the premise of that comment. If you're going to state something to me that this is the way the world is, and there's no factual way to prove it, it's my job in my sense is that real? Is that true? Is that right?
100%.
Why is that? Yeah. Why is that? Why is that? Right?
Yeah. No,
I'm going to the why.
Yeah, I got
If you don't care, we can drop it. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't care.
But you make that statement and you're thinking that way, and I want to make sure that I understand. If you're thinking this way, is it bad logic? Is it good logic? Is it something else that makes you think this way?
Well,
right?
obviously, I haven't thought it through super carefully. So,
so whether you do or not, I mean, the point is, if I understand your thought on this, then the next time I have a conversation with you, I can tailor the way I start the conversation by knowing where you're at in that viewpoint.
Yeah, I'll leave it with this that I have thought through carefully, is that I'm not going to push anybody down, whether they're a man or a woman. I'm going to only try to pull people up.
Okay.
I'm only going to try to do good for people to the best of my ability. And am I going to mess up and am I going to have biases? 100%. But if I can recognize them and notice them, and please call me out if you see that, because I don't want to do that.
Well, so one of the things that I worry about is when we say someone's being pushed down.
Yeah.
The immediate thought is, well, someone's being pushed up. It's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
But that is the thought that would go through my mind. And I think probably goes through a lot of people's minds when they hear that.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes an us versus them, or left versus right, or man versus woman. There becomes an element to that. And I want to question whether that's true, or whether it's just a label we're putting on something to explain something we don't like about society today. Because I think we do that a lot.
Could be. Yeah. Very likely could be.
Right? Because I believe if you were to go to the left side of viewpoint and make the comment about men being pushed down, you would get a different viewpoint.
Maybe. I don't know. It's it's funny. I saw an interview from Bernie Sanders. He was asked this question, and he had a very elegant answer for it. He's like, yes, so our focus right now has been, not right now, but for the past 20 years has been predominantly on women, right? Because they've been so underrepresented and so pushed down that now we've raised them up. And that's a very good thing that's happened. And now we're seeing that maybe men are being a little left behind, because now maybe we need to take just some of that and apply it to men as well, too. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That I 100% agree with.
Yeah, I mean, everything swings back and forth,
right?
Everything
swings back and forth.
You're not at equilibrium. You're always around equilibrium. There will always be inequalities somewhere in the system, and as attention gets put on them and they're measured, you adapt the system and it goes back. But the changes you made push it back past equilibrium, and then you got to go the other way. This is the way the politics works with Democrats and Republicans. Everything goes left and right, up and down. So I think understanding that in any point in time there's going to be inequities in the system is part of a mature view of the world.
Yeah, I don't really like it. It'd be optimum to optimize it where everybody's getting 100% equal treatment, but I know that's not true.
100% equal treatment does not mean 100% equal outcome.
No, I understand that.
But we're measuring off of outcome. We look at outcome and we say something's wrong here, and then we adjust the system. And the system might be adjusted to where everyone's not getting 100% equal treatment because we want 100% equal outcome, right? So affirmative action basically is the idea of we're going to force unequal treatment to get a more equal outcome.
At some point, okay, at some point I don't like that. Other points I do like that, because if you have somebody that's unrepresented, like typically black people, right, have not had the same opportunities that wealthy
Correct.
white kids have, it's like as a society, and here's why. And it's not so much I care about that individual, right? What I care about even more than I do care about it, but it's like even more what I care about is society as a whole. Because now, because the problem is we've now got a weak area, and there's all sorts of negative stuff that's going to come out of that.
So
And
Scott,
so,
your point is it's the individual versus society, and I think this is the argument that comes down to everything. When
you
you
got to
talk
balance
about
both.
when you talk about men's rights or women's rights, you're talking about
Yeah.
society. When you talk about the number of kids we're having and the people getting married, that's society. But when you flip it and say, I'm going to look at the individual, then it's about the individual getting the treatment that's equal. It's about the individual having the opportunities that are equal. It's a different argument. And the problem is what's good for society may have a negative impact on some individuals. And that is tough, particularly as an American where we believe in individual rights so much as
Yeah.
we do. That's a really tough thing to address, is that am I more worried about society or am I more worried about the individual, and what do I prioritize?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and I don't know how you weight that. That's very tough, actually. I'm hoping here's what I'm hoping, though. This is in my fantasy, in my head, is that
Okay.
if you optimize every individual, you will optimize society.
No. No. Because to optimize for some groups may be to sub-optimize for others.
I don't know that that has to be that way, Chris.
So if I optimize to hire one racial group to a point where they're represented in the job higher than they represent society. So let's say there's a group
I don't want to optimize that. That's not the optimization I'm talking about.
So
That's
now
not
we're
the
talking about
optimization.
what's the definition of optimization?
This is what I'm optimized. I want to make sure that regardless of who you are, and this, all my Republican friends are going to kill me for this, that society owes every individual like a good education, and they're not going to Harvard, but they have a good, solid education, and they're fed. They're not hungry, right? So their brain powers where they can study and they can learn skills. I think we are rich enough as a society that should be mandatory in my mind, and at least I'm willing to pay for it.
So let me work backward.
Yeah.
So you want equal opportunity for every individual in society.
I think that would optimize society the best.
So equal opportunity, and then the optimization is education. What about healthcare?
I think you need a minimum health care. Yeah,
So-
yeah, I know. This
so
is
we
why I
have-
said
we
my
have
Republicans are
healthcare.
going to kill me. Yeah.
What about
minimum.
UBI?
I don't know. That's a more difficult one. Maybe I haven't thought through, because here's the problem, right? When you do UBI, people tend to get lazy.
So
and so I want enough.
I think what you want is UBS, which is service, universal basic services,
Maybe I want everybody to
education,
work.
healthcare, right? And so if I don't have to worry about where I live, if I don't have to worry about what I learn, and if I don't have to worry about am I healthy,
Yeah.
I can put all my attention to other things.
And that's not to say you're living the grand life. I mean, you're getting the minimum accommodations, the minimum food, the minimum health care, right?
So,
But
so this is what I call my utopian socialist society in my head. Okay, is the idea that we as a country decide these are the basic services that we think everyone should have.
yes,
And
right.
we do kind of do that, right? We have police, we have fire department, we do have Medicare, we do have some basics that are there.
Yeah.
We all decide what that is. And that's enough that it takes the burden off the average person to where they can use their God-given rights, their abilities, nature-given, whatever you want to say,
Correct.
to be able to improve their life and society as a whole.
To contribute, but not be lazy, because if
I don't like the word contribute. I want them to improve. I want
They
them
gotta
to
work.
improve
They
their
gotta
life
get
and
better,
to
yeah.
so it's always getting better. It's not like I'm just doing enough to contribute. I am always getting better in myself, and
Yeah.
I'm bringing value to society.
Absolutely. I think that would optimize all of society. That doesn't mean everybody's going to be equal, but nobody's going to go hungry, right?
No, but your baseline is
Your
that
baseline.
society government, whatever, is treating everyone equally, giving them the same amount of base services at a minimum to be able to concentrate on making their life better, making as a society
Correct,
better.
actually. Right.
Right.
Yes.
Now we got to build the mindset, which means we probably have to do some educational programming of people to believe that and think that way. But that's a different thing.
I think that's
important. So then you're protecting their individual rights. So there are going to have variances in how much money they make by the jobs they take and the businesses they do and all.
Massive
and so people who are more skilled and more able will be able to move up the chain, but they will never be able to fall below a certain point.
They'll never be able to fall below, because I believe that's bad for all of
So
society.
that is the safety net idea.
Yeah.
The question is, where is the safety net? What are the pieces of the safety net that we're talking about here? Which I think, I mean, this is the argument that you always make. Well, we're already a socialist society. To a certain extent we are.
And that's fine.
We have socialized services. And I don't think anyone who truly understands that aspect of socialism would argue that we want to get rid of that, right? We want to have a military. We don't want to have to call people up to war every time we can do it, right? All these types of, well, okay, that's a loaded statement. But that's one of the things that I think people don't understand is there are pieces of socialism that once a society gets large enough to have enough wealth to take care of its people, makes sense for that society to do.
Makes 100% sense. Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
If your society is 100 people, it's going to be real tough to do that.
Yeah.
But when your society is 1 million people, it's much easier for you to be able to set those services up.
Yeah, right, exactly. But just the minimum, though. It's like no kid should ever have to go hungry. Hungry, right?
What is the minimum, right? That's the point we're always going to have a hard time discussing. Is the minimum, you need to have a cell phone with a data plan?
No, you don't need a cell phone with the data.
I would say today, yes. 20 years ago, I would have said no.
Okay, no, you can have a group computer that you can operate on. It's access. You don't get your own personal stuff, actually. But for sure, it's like you always have good quality food and you're not hungry. You have a certain amount of safety. You know that you can be inside your place. Somebody's going to.
All of these are great ideas. Implementation would tear them apart.
Implementation always tears them apart, right?
I mean, we need to feed people healthy food, but we got to do it economically. Who's the lowest bidder to give us healthy food? Where are they shaving corners?
Chris, I mean,
know. Come on.
I know. Listen, I know, but I'm telling you, if you can get this right, society as a whole gets better. Because
I think the problem is the human nature element. Is the
I know, Chris. I know, and that's where I was just going. It's like the essence is people are just selfish, and exactly. Because I know, like, look at the Democrats who preach this more than anybody. The elites, they're more selfish than anybody, right? They're the worst, probably even more than Republicans.
Okay, I'm going to use the word self-centered, not selfish.
Self-centered, selfish, whatever. Self-centered, fine.
Selfish to means they want it for themselves. Self-centered means they don't think beyond themselves.
No, not that. Actually, it's worse than that. It's selfishness.
I know. Selfish. Okay, I'm sure there's selfish individuals, but I really believe that it's self-centered. That they think that their opinion is the right opinion. The educated opinion is the right opinion, right? And what's ended up happening. This is what I've seen. Like when I was in college, the Democratic Party still tried to consider itself the working man's party.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Yeah,
and the Republicans were all the businessman's party.
Yeah,
and over the course of the last 40 years, things have really shifted a lot to where you have a lot more. You always had working class Republicans, but now that's become almost the image: is the working class man is the Republican.
Yeah,
and particularly as labor has taken hits, as unions have taken hits over the past 40 years, a lot of the voting power of the Democrats has been impacted.
Yeah,
right. And so when I look at it from that aspect, I'm like, I think in many ways the Democrats, partially from the fact that California is where all these big companies came about. So a lot of your rich people were in California, and California being such a liberal state has a lot of Democrats.
Yeah.
So you end up with a lot of rich, educated people who are probably more, tech savvy or whatever than others, who are in this liberal mindset.
Yeah.
And so suddenly that became the business mindset, was the tech mindset, the tech business mindset. So suddenly the liberals have all the business guys, or the guys and gals, I guess, and mostly guys, but guys and gals, and you end up with a pull of the party towards this idea of educated, rich tech people, technocrats.
I know. Because law of the
Right?
jungle, power always wins. And I hate
But
it sometimes,
but then all your working class Democrats are like, well, where am I in this?
yeah, right. Yeah. They're
Right?
Republicans now. Many of them, they moved to
Many of them are
Republican
Republican. Well, that's the problem. Is what when we look at the middle of the road American in the past, which would have been a lot of Democrats and a lot of Republicans consider themselves middle of the road.
And they could actually talk and agree on most
Yeah,
things,
the
right?
road's kind of been shrunk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. They would have, we wouldn't have a government shutdown right now, right? We'd have the government open and functioning properly.
yeah, and it wouldn't be the president and the Democrats kind of saying, I'm not going to flinch.
Yeah,
They're
I
playing
know.
chicken, right? Is what they're doing.
They're playing chicken.
I've
yeah,
got to fly next week, and I'm really wondering what's going to happen.
And I hate it. I hate it. Yeah, I'm going to fly in 2 weeks. I'm coming to California for a couple of days. But I
Oh,
hate
okay.
it. I hate it because it's like, this is not a Democrat Republican party. This is all of you. Y'all are a disaster.
And this is one thing I don't think both parties are willing to recognize because they're so focused on each other at the moment. Is that all of us, the average American, just hates them all, or doesn't?
Yeah, pretty much. I
not
hate
I
everybody
don't hate,
equally right now. Yeah.
hate's a big word, but yeah,
Hate's a big
they
word.
don't trust any of them.
No,
Because
trust is very displeased.
it's like I brought this up before. It's like when the basketball players went on strike. It was millionaires against the billionaires, and the rest of us were
Fine,
suffering,
whatever,
right?
fine, right.
So this is the same thing. It's your average politician and federal politician is a millionaire.
Yeah.
Sometimes many times over.
Yeah.
And the people that they're dealing with are billionaires who are giving them money.
Yeah,
and that's the people that they're trying to make happy, so they can. I want to be a millionaire. I want to, the billionaires are willing to give me money to help them out. And so suddenly it's like the rest of us who are stuck watching this happen, and like, well, there's no one representing the average American anymore.
No, and the horrible part is there's actual people that are like literally being affected at a negative level in the fact that, like, how do I pay electricity? How do I pay rent? How do I afford food? How do I put gas in my car?
And because the whole left versus right, Republicans versus Democrats is the argument now, you spin anything you want into whatever you want it to be, and you lose the element of that individual's problem.
There's like real people really suffering, right?
It's like, oh, power prices are going up, and that's because of the Democrats, or that's because of the Republicans, or that's because of the war here or the war there. And you end up with, yeah, but what about the person who's having the problem?
No, what about the person? No, that's exactly right. And for some reason, I mean, that bugs me because I used to be in that position. I'm not anymore. I mean, yeah, I hate when gas goes up, and I hate when electric, and I hate when this goes up, but it doesn't really affect me. It's like, I'll be like, ouch, but I'll still write the check, right? Because I can. But it's like, let me tell you something. 10 years ago, when I couldn't write the check, I had to make a decision. Like, I was so broke. I had to make a decision. It's like, holy crap, what are we going to do? Are we going to just like hope they don't turn our electricity off? Do we not pay rent?
So
do we buy food or not? I mean,
if I took the average politician and looked over their lives, how many of them come from situations where they understand that part of life?
I don't know. Probably some of them. Most of them probably.
I assume
don't.
a few of them do.
Yeah.
And I assume they're the ones who probably are more connected to the people in their districts.
Yeah.
But I feel like so many of the people there, I mean, they're from rich families, they're from political families, they're from money to some level. And they don't have to be from rich money.
No.
Even a well-off middle class family means they never had the hard times, right?
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is, like my dad, there were times when they didn't have enough food on the table.
Yeah, right. Real.
I never had that problem, but I wasn't able to have everything I wanted. There was still budgeting, and we couldn't buy things, and there was definitely nothing like Post-its or Uber Eats or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So conceptually, I think it's tough for someone who never had hardship in their life to even connect with the hardships that are happening.
That's why we call them elitist, because they truly do not understand.
But this is, so if we look at history and we look at how governments develop, this is how governments develop.
Yeah.
People in power attain more power, and power can be money, power can be other things.
I know.
And at some point that power and that money needs to be redistributed. And the question is, I think one way to redistribute it is to, okay, I don't like this, but is to put more authority back at the local level.
Yes.
Right?
And that's a very Republican kind of thing, right?
for years it's been Republican, right? The idea of big government versus small government
Yeah,
was
right.
Democrats were big government, Republicans were small government.
Yeah.
That's changed though.
Yeah, I
In the
know.
past 40 years, it's like the Republicans are very much about big government. It's now big government, big government. It's just how
Everybody's
much
big government.
they're just fighting each other
I know
on policy.
who's control, right? Exactly, which is horrible.
Yeah.
And still, and with all this, with as rich as our country is, we're still going into more debt. We're spending more money on healthcare. We're getting sicker and sicker, and kids go to bed hungry every single night. That is a freaking crime, in my opinion.
So this would be an interesting thing if we could write uh, a citizen, no, not citizens, an American. I don't say the American Bill of Rights because the Bill of Rights is an actual thing, but something like like the Bill of Rights, but for today,
Yeah,
what Americans deserve today,
yeah,
deserve what the rights of Americans should be today.
yeah.
That would be an interesting thing to write out, right? Saying they deserve, and some of it's going to be socialist sounding, like you talked about, but some of the other things it might be interesting, and I bet you these are things that left and right would generally agree upon.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, they just implement in different ways. Like I worked for a full year at like a food bank down here, actually, because you get SNAP and it used to be called food stamps and everything like that. And so my next door neighbor runs it, and like once a week or twice a week, I can't remember. People would drive, literally hundreds of people would drive through, and we'd like load them up with just bags of like food
Yep.
and produce. Now, this wasn't the best quality food. This was like
But it's
Walmart.
food, yeah.
What Walmart would be like, this shit's gonna. Sorry, I'm trying not to cuss. This stuff's gonna expire like in a day or 2 days. So we'll bring a semi truck and you can unload it and pack it up or
Yes.
whatever. I mean, it's
But
it's not optimal food,
we've
but
got those here in Orange County too. We've got them here in
yeah,
California, and right now with SNAP not being funded,
yeah,
and that it's now November, which means it's not funded for the month.
yeah.
People aren't going to get their money,
I know. Are
right?
there food?
And they said 1 in 8 Americans is on SNAP. That's
That's
a
crazy.
scary 1 in 8
I
Americans is
know.
on
Yeah, you
SNAP.
look around and you're more than likely you're going to see somebody like on. Yeah,
Holy cow! That should be something that we're afraid. If one,
we
I
should
mean,
be. We should be, but it sucks that like our leaders are not doing it now.
13% of Americans are on food stamps.
That's a crime. That's a crime. That's a total crime.
I mean,
And
if you were to tell me 3%, I'd be like, okay, I can live with it with that. That's like
I can't live with 3%.
but
I can't live.
no on food stamps, which means that we're paying for something.
As long as they're not going.
I'm not saying they're starving. I'm saying they're food stamps.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. They're eating like top ramen and cheap hamburger. That's fine, but at least they're not starving.
Okay, well that's a different problem. That's an implementation problem too. Is when you see people on food stamps buying expensive steak and stuff
I
like
hate
that.
it. Yes,
That's
I know.
that's a different
I
problem.
know. And candy and stuff. Yeah, bad
And,
idea.
and when I'm on a rant on that, I'll be like, just give everyone money for food, and I'll spend it better than they will.
Absolutely,
So,
actually.
but
Yeah.
that's me being on the other side. But no, yeah, the concept of 1 in 8 Americans. Yeah, I'm sure they're focused in certain states and certain places and all that kind of stuff. But just conceptually, that to me is there's a problem in our society that we are okay with 13% of Americans
Well, I
needing to
know
get their
my
food
neighbors.
funded from the government.
My neighbor's not. Her name's Susie, and she's been doing this for years, and she feeds like 400 or 500 families, probably a couple thousand people a month with food, and none of it's government. Well, the SNAP is, but most of it's donation based. Most of it's like she's like constantly
Well,
talking to Walmart. Oh, we've got 3 extra pallets of potatoes.
we
Okay, send them
we
over,
waste 40 or 50% of our food.
Yeah, and she collects that. She collects the stuff.
I mean, that's the other thing that's amazing when you think about it. We waste 40 to 50% of our food.
Yeah.
That's why I think Starbucks and other companies will take their baked goods and give them to shelters and stuff at the end
And
of
that's
the day.
what she does. She's constantly in relationship with everybody in Walmart. Hey, we got it. And then what Walmart gets out of it is we got, hey, look at us. We're helping. We're so
Yeah.
good, but we're going to dump
Yeah.
it anyways.
Well,
But,
yeah,
you
we
know,
were going to throw away this stuff that was worth 20% of our selling price or whatever the cost is, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to write it off, but now we can write it off as a donation.
and donation and look at us. We're like helping, we're helping these families, right? So it's awesome. So everybody wins. So it's just the game, right? But she understands it really well.
But then the thought is, if we didn't have a system that threw away 40% of our food,
Yeah.
maybe our food could be 40% cheaper or whatever, some percentage cheaper. And if it were cheaper, more people could afford it, which means they wouldn't need to be on food stamps.
I know,
So
but I'm the worst at that, because when I go into Walmart or wherever I go into, I want the best. I don't want some ugly looking apple. I want the most premium, shiny, red, perfect looking produce. Otherwise, I'm going to put my nose up at it, right?
okay. Are you willing to go to Whole Foods and pay for that price?
Yeah.
Because Whole Foods throws away a lot. It does, it makes these, it puts a display, they put the nice looking ones.
I know, and I want the nice looking ones, right?
Yeah, so this is the funny thing is like before the pandemic, we would always go to the Asian grocery stores and go shopping.
Yeah.
And they would always have a lot of cheap produce, and it would be a little bit ugly.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that pretty. And I didn't care if I'm going to cook it and the like, right? So I would buy that stuff. What happened during the pandemic was production of food just got slammed, right? And so their stuff got even uglier, and then the ugly stuff that they were selling before is what they were selling at the grocery stores.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know.
And it's only slowly kind of come back from that. There are several online grocery stores that sell misshapen foods and stuff, and like misprinted, or the bagging was a little off.
Probably perfectly fine, perfectly healthy food, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, okay, maybe, it's like, however to say that, but it's like the people that can't afford to pay for it, that's what they get, right? But at least they're not hungry. At least it's healthy. At least it's not bad for them. Me, right, with cash, I'm not going to eat that crap. I want the best looking, best stuff possible,
But I would really like for the system itself to throw away less food, to not have to have the food banks. And
yeah, but the food banks are a way of redistributing that food. So it is being solved at some level,
Yeah, but to me, but we still end up with a lot of waste that goes bad, because it's not stuff that can be moved. So your canned food, your packaged food that has a shelf life, that's okay. But your vegetables and stuff, I mean, potentially there's stuff that just goes bad.
Yeah, I know. Right? Yeah, vegetables go bad after a while. Yeah,
it'd be nice if our waste rate of food was down to 10%.
Well,
and instead, nice. all the costs of foods came down 30%. Because they're not wasting as much.
But
and then what ends up happening is people don't have to feel like I'm in a special program that I've got to get money from the government, and they can just go buy food on their own from the grocery store. I think there's a mental element to that impacts a person's life.
Yeah. But here's the thing, Chris. You talk about it, but what are you going to do about it? Because talking doesn't change anything.
You saying I can't have an opinion?
No, you can have an opinion. No, absolutely. But opinions are pretty much worthless until you implement something, until you put food in that little kid's mouth who's actually hungry,
But the idea here, Scott, is that I can have an opinion on a billion things.
Yeah.
I can't act on a billion things.
No, but you act on one. Yeah, one, right?
Yeah. So you're asking me, what am I going to do about this? Nothing. Yeah. I have my opinion.
Okay, let's stop talking about it then. Let's talk about something that we're actually going to build, that we're actually going to do, something that actually, feeds a little kid, or build something that's going to help track a goat because it's more efficient. I mean, that's what I want to focus on.
Why do you want to track a goat?
Because I want to do a lot of things. Anyways, I don't want to talk about goats right now or whatever, because I got to go, because I actually have real work to do.
Okay.
Because this is what I want to focus on. This is what we started the podcast with, Chris, is that we need to build more. And it's like what we're doing, this is just mental masturbation, basically, is all we're doing. And it's like, that's what I've got to get away from.
Yeah. I do think part of the difficulty is who's around you to have conversations with. Right. So you're talking about, your mentors and stuff. How often do you get a chance to talk to them? Oh, we got to follow up with Jamar on helping him with his.
Yeah, I was going to do that because I've got 2 of those built. I should just give him the phone number and let him try it and see if he likes it or not.
Yeah, let him try, because I think he'll want to see that, and then it's just an issue of setting up the training and figuring out, and then how you package it and sell it. Right,
yeah,
is the other aspect.
It's actually pretty easy to do.
He wants, and I think part of that is a business plan of, here's the free version, here's the paid version. And, we can come up with various models like that.
Yeah.
But let him see, so he's got a vision of, that's what I want, because then less variables means you can start to think about.
Yeah. At least you can experience and see what he likes. Yeah, but see, that's good. But we need to, if we can build stuff, Chris. That's what I'm going to be nagging you more and more on doing that, because I think that's where my calling is starting to go to. Now,
Are you wanting to build something physically, or what do you want?
Yeah,
Because
physically.
one of the things that I've wanted us to do is to build the framework for thinking.
I wouldn't mind doing that as long as we do it, but we talk about it, but we never do anything.
Well, I've given you my frameworks. I've given you things to look at. I've shared diagrams with you. I've done all that stuff, but I haven't heard back from you on any of that.
Well, I know, because I'm distracted. I built a website. The website's up there, so
yeah. So what is it you want to produce?
That much, actually. What's that?
What is it we want to make? You want to make it for the channel? You want to make it for us individually? I mean, what is it we want to make?
I don't know. Part of me says if this is the only thing I'm doing, we got to do something different. But I'm going to start another channel called Build with Big Scott that's about building. And so if
you've been saying that for a while, just like I've been saying that for a while.
100%, exactly, for years, in fact. But if I do that, then I'm fine just chit-chatting for a couple hours a week, because I find this very stimulating, and I think it's awesome. It helps make sure that my thinking is clear. And this is very valuable to me, and maybe valuable to others, hopefully.
Okay, so let's add one thing to this to this call that we do, to this podcast that we do. What is your one action item for this week? We've talked about this in the past, and we never follow up on this. What is the one thing you are going to act on as a result of our conversation?
Well, there's a bunch of things. So today, the rest of this day, I've got this little doohickey right here. Right, this is a. Hang on, I'm gonna turn my video thing off. Hang on. Blur my background. So this is a test board for an oscilloscope. This is my oscilloscope right here. It's actually just a digital one. You can just hook up. I got to learn. It's a picoscope if anybody's interested. And this board is a test board for it. So I got to figure out how to use the software. And right now, in particular, what I'm working on is how to trigger different kind of signals. So I got to finish that, because then I can start building. Where's all my other stuff? I got like a whole drawer full of stuff here, Chris. I've got like Arduinos, Nanos, and I got to start building this stuff. I've got like LEDs. I've got all sorts of battery holders. I've got like GPS modules. I've got SMS broadcast models. I need to start putting this thing together so that I can strap it on this goat and to help solve this guy's goat problem, because he wants to track his goats. The other thing I'm going to be doing this weekend, probably tomorrow, is I'm learning how to build robots. And so I'm going to make something called a harmonic drive, if you're familiar with that at all. But it's the essence of robots. Basically, it's a gearbox with 0 slop, so you can drive a fast motor and precisely control where the robot joint goes. So I don't fully understand it. So what I could do is I got to find a model and 3D print it, so I can literally, like in 3D space, play with it and see how it works. So those are my immediate things.
Scott, the second thing I think is cool. The first thing, why build a goat tracker when you can just get one of these things?
Because goats so the way that works actually is you have to have another iPhone within a reasonably close distance to it, and it builds a network. So they're going to be out miles away from somebody else.
That's for the iPhone one. What about the other one, the tile one? That's supposed to be GPS.
It is. Maybe I'll explore it. Actually, I don't know. I didn't really know.
I think it's. I thought it was the same technology. I'm told it's a different network. So you might try and see the tile. The company Tile.
Let me write it down.
I think that's GPS.
It could be. There's something called Lauren as well too, which is basically like a medium range radio that'll operate at maybe like 1 to 2 mile range. And I could put that on.
Is that the one that pumps out like IP packets, very small packets on the internet, and then it's just tracking information in it? That's one that I heard about 5 years ago that I thought was a really cool idea.
Yeah, I may do that. But right now I'm going to use a little SMS technology, and it's just going to shoot an SMS message to a central server that'll just plot it on a map. And it'll just wake up maybe once every 10 minutes, or it probably won't even broadcast unless the goat moves a certain distance, and then it'll rebroadcast. So maybe within a 50-meter range, it won't broadcast, because broadcasting is where all the power comes from. It's tremendous.
How's it going to know it moved 50 meters away?
Because the GPS, it'll just wake up for the GPS. The GPS.
So every time it moves, the GPS will track?
No, I'll wake it up every 10 seconds or something like that.
Okay, got it. All right.
And then if it moves more than 50 meters within some period of time, then I'll But the broadcast is where all the power is. It's like
I get that. Okay. Okay. So what is the one thing tangible that you're going to have by next week?
I'm gonna know how to use this oscilloscope, and
Okay.
I'm gonna 3D print a harmonic drive. I'll show it on the show next week.
Oh, so you have so your 3D printer, how big an item can you produce?
Well, it's small. I'm looking at buying a bigger one because I also want to do my insoles. Remember how we talked about that with
Oh yeah,
load
that's right.
cells
That's
on
right. Yeah.
top of them? So I'm looking to buy another one, and Black Friday sales are coming on. So either I'm looking right now for a bigger printer, and I don't know which one. So I'm trying to figure out what I want.
Because I've got one of the cheapest 3D printers, and it doesn't work that well. So what I really want to do is I want to 3D print coffee accessories,
Oh, there you go. Okay, okay. The
and
good
I've got a
sign
whole
is
bunch in my mind that I want to produce. What was that?
I would buy a bamboo lab. You can get a bamboo lab for like $500 or $600. It's like a toaster. You just
Yeah,
set
no,
it
no,
up and
I know,
print.
I know.
Black Friday free shipping, man. Now's the time if you're going to do it.
So anyway,
Fun.
either that or I want to get a small laser cutter.
Okay, there you go.
That'll cut maybe a 1/4 inch plywood.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah. They have one kit that's like a big 3D printer and a laser cutter and a scanner all in this one builder space. It's really interesting. I think it's
Well,
a
I
little
think it'd
more
be really interesting.
expensive.
I've got a lot of things that I want to produce for myself that I think would actually be useful for other people. And if I can set it up to print or produce that way, I don't mind, doing that.
Yes. Build something.
But that's not the immediate thing I'm gonna have. So I gotta
Okay, tell me
there's
right now.
things that
You got
so
one
my
minute
thing
'cause
is
I gotta go. Yeah.
I started working on a certification for auditing AI.
Yeah.
That's a free thing, but I started the training and I got about a third of the way through it and stopped. So I'm gonna pick that up and work on that this weekend because that's a time commitment. But I
Cool.
want to get that certificate.
Okay, that sounds good. Next week, let's talk. Chris, let's wrap this up right now
Hit
because
stop?
I have to go to
All
the
right.
bathroom. No,
All
I'm going
right.
to stop right now. Okay, where am I going to stop? Yeah, stop.